Before we dive in, we wanted to let you know also about another company in Chattanooga that's doing really great things, Reliance Partners. Reliance Partners is the latest sponsor of FreightCaviar, and they offer tailored insurance strategies for businesses of all sizes across the US, Canada, and Mexico. Reliance isn't just about compliance, they're about reducing costs and improving CSA scores, which means fewer audits and lower premiums. Their expert team with deep industry knowledge delivers substantial coverage at reasonable costs, offering options like self-insurance and captive programs. Rated America's fastest growing commercial insurance agency with top-notch customer service, join thousands who trust Reliance Partners. Visit ReliancePartners.com or call 877-668-1704 for your specialized quote today. And now, let's dive in to this unique special episode. Hey everyone, today is January 29th, 2024. We are in Vancouver, Washington. We're here at CBS Critical Brokerage Services. Bob is here with me.
Yep.
He came from Charlotte. I flew in from Poland. And then we have the co-founders of CBS. We have Roman and we have Max, the two co-founders of CBS. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for coming out, guys.
Yes.
We're huge fans of the pod. We both follow both your guys' pages. All the guys in the office follow FreightCaviar on everything, the newsletter, USA Transportation. I've been following personally for like 5 years now. Roman probably more than that. So it's honestly a privilege and an honor to have you guys out here. Thanks for coming out.
Definitely.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
No, it's actually great. It's my first time here actually in Portland. Literally never been here.
Yeah.
I always wanted to come here. People literally, like, drivers always drive here. You know, they say it's amazing here, like the sceneries, all the green stuff. Always wanted to come, never had the chance to come. So it's actually really, really great to be here.
What's your first impression, man?
It's good. You know, I actually, from seeing on Instagram and seeing all this stuff, like what people post, it was actually a lot different, right? Like even yesterday we drove by, it wasn't that much homelessness, not that much like stuff, you know?
Oh, it was pretty calm.
Yeah.
It seems like there's like not that many people here.
I think like social media and the media overdoes it. You know?
For sure.
Yeah.
There are some strange people though, like walking around.
Yeah.
But I feel like,
Like
Chicago. Yeah, like me. Yeah. I
Yeah.
definitely stick out a little bit, being 6'8".
Huge polar bear walking around.
Yeah, huge polar bear. Yeah, Max is pretty tall too. So Max is actually 6'4". So
Yeah.
we're both tall
Make sure to get that in the pod.
yeah. But no, this is awesome. So we're in Vancouver, Washington, which is a suburb of Portland. It's like what, a 20-minute drive, 15-minute drive from the city of Portland, and it's kind of interesting here because there's a large diaspora of Ukrainians that came out here, and it seems like there's a large like trucking and logistics community that maybe isn't really talked about much. You know, you have the Chicago, you have Chattanooga, but I feel like Portland's kind of like Vancouver, Washington area is like overlooked. I'm kind of like curious if you guys could just like kind of like introduce yourselves, like tell us a little bit about your backgrounds, how you got here to the city, and talk a little bit about that like scene that we have like of like the logistics community here.
Yeah, I think the biggest reason why there's so many people in logistics here is just because of the mass immigration that happened in the late 90s, early 2000s. So my family, I was born in Ukraine actually, in Chernivtsi. We immigrated in 2000, and then you immigrated when?
2001.
Yeah, so we're both technically, is that what, first generation immigrant technically, since we're the ones that came? Yeah, so basically, as far as I know, how it went down is pretty much everyone came here. I'm not sure how the location was picked. I heard there's like some kind of lottery or something like that, where basically it's like you either go to New York area, somewhere in Chicago area, or to the Pacific Northwest.
I came to Rochester, New York in 2002 from Ukraine. We went to Rochester because our uncle lived there. So when we opened, like they opened the green cards or whatever, that's how we got to Rochester. So maybe somebody was like a family member here or something.
Yeah.
You know?
So in my family specifically, we were like the third or fourth people to come. There's a couple other uncles that were here first, but I think it was just the first kind of Ukrainians that came over. The immigration agency or whoever it was saw there's a very like low population in this area, and they wanted more people to come. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure 100%, but I think that's what it was. And so essentially, like you have all these guys coming, you know, all these hardworking, you know, young men that, you know, have a bunch of energy, you know, and kind of want to make money and be successful, live the American dream. And I was telling you yesterday, I think, you know, logistics is one of the best ways to kind of achieve that for someone who's an immigrant. You know, even today, you look at a lot of the demographic of truck drivers, it's a lot of immigrants, you know, because it's an industry where you can get in, put in the work, get ahead, you know, quickly, you know, in a few years without a degree. You know, you don't have to have necessarily some kind of big foundation or something like that. You can kind of just come in, you know, put in the work and make something of yourself. And so I think that's why there's such a big diaspora. Is that the word you use? That's a new word for me today, but I think that's probably why, if I would have to say anything.
Definitely. Very cool. And so you came in what year from Ukraine again?
2000.
We immigrated in September of 2000.
Okay, and you were what, like, you're like a
2000.
year old?
Yeah, I was just over a year old. Yeah.
A year old. And so you grew up basically here in Vancouver, Washington area. Roman, I know that you came here. You were a little bit older when you came to
Yeah,
Ukraine?
so I
To the
came.
US?
Yeah, I came when I was like 4 or 5.
Okay.
But we moved to New York. So I lived in Queens, New York.
Okay.
We lived there for about 7 years, and then we went to Ohio just for a little bit.
Ohio? Where is Ohio?
Ohio? You know where Ohio is.
Remember that joke?
Typical person from Ohio.
Ohio,
Yeah.
and then what?
Yeah, we lived in Toledo, Ohio for about 3 years. Definitely a different pace of life from New York. And so I was still in high school, so my parents wanted to a little bit faster pace than Ohio. So we moved to Vancouver. We had a little bit of family around here.
Okay.
So yeah, they decided to just establish themselves here.
And when did they come here to Vancouver?
2010.
2010. Okay.
So you've been here like
Got it.
13 years.
Yeah. So you finished high school here. You went through all your schooling here and stuff like that.
Yeah. All in Vancouver.
So like logistics, like when you were growing up, was it like, did you know family members that were like working in trucking logistics? Was it something that like you understood that like, oh, this is a potential career path? Or was it kind of like random? Can you talk about like how you guys, met and like how that all occurred?
Yeah, so for me, great story. So I used to work at a bank. It was actually called Ukrainian Federal Credit Union.
Yeah.
You guys have one in Rochester.
Yeah. We have one in Charlotte too now.
Charlotte, yeah.
Yeah.
They're opening up a lot of
Yeah.
branches. So this guy would come in all the time and deposit really big checks. And I was like, what is this guy doing? But I didn't know that he was running a trucking business. And so I was really curious. I'm like, hey, what do you do? What do you do? And he's like, oh, like I dispatch trucks. I'm like, perfect. Like whenever you need help, like let me know. I'll come in. I'll work for you. He's like, okay. And then one day, it was like 2-3 months later, he's like, hey, do you still want the job? I'm like, perfect. Yeah, I quit today. I'll go work for you. He's like,
Oh, wow.
do you want to like check it out? Like what it is? I'm like, no, I trust you. Like,
You really didn't like your job at the bank.
He saw the checks. He's like, I trust you. If you're dealing with this much money, I trust you.
There you go.
yeah. And he was kind enough, take me under his wing, teach me dispatching. And then it started from there. Really liked it, wanted to expand to different things. So did dispatching. That's how me and Max met, was through dispatching. And then I wanted to get into insurance. I just liked the idea of it. I thought it would be like a different challenge. So I did commercial auto insurance. So I sold trucking policies. And that's where I learned how to, vet insurance companies to see which ones are good, which ones are not so well, how they cover claims, what kind of liability limits there are and stuff like that. And yeah, so after insurance, we got into box trucking a little bit. And then after box trucking, we decided to start a brokerage.
Nice.
Okay.
So-
Which was it? Sorry, the insurance company was out of here?
Yeah.
What's the name of it?
Truckers INS.
Truckers INS. Are
Yeah.
they still
Yeah,
doing
they're
it?
doing great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I left that position, not anything to do with the company.
Yeah.
It was just I wanted to try again something new, something to do myself, But a lot of the experience that I got there transferred into brokerage and trucking. Yeah.
So you learn a lot about logistics and transportation just in the insurance, right?
Oh yeah, especially like the back end of it, like what goes in. How can insurance companies pre-vet trucking companies, and why one trucking company is getting a higher rate than the other when on paper they're exactly the same, and like how they think, how they go through claims, what kind of policies they have in place. So it definitely gave me a little bit of an edge. Once we're now booking carriers and we have to like check them to make sure that they have insurance. Yeah, they can have $250,000 cargo policy, but if they're insured by a company that I don't want to say a name, but like let's say it's not that good, it's still not a a good company to work with.
That's interesting.
Hey there, amazing listeners. If you're enjoying what you're hearing on our podcast, we need your support. It will only take a moment, but it would mean the world to us. Please make sure to hit the like button on this video, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to share with one of your friends that would enjoy our content. Your engagement helps us reach more people and bring more awesome episodes to you. Thanks a million, and thanks for being part of the podcast community.
I remember like in terms of insurance companies, the first brokerage I worked for, we wouldn't work with Lloyd's of London insurance because they're like, they insure everything. And
He's
they
like, I don't want to say any names. He's like, I don't know Lloyd's of London.
Yeah, I'll say the names. Like, Lloyd's of London, like I've always known.
I
like,
think
this
everybody knows that because even the old company I worked with, we also like it was very hard to book loads with certain brokers because of that, So it really matters what insurance you have.
But also Lloyd's of London has syndicates. So syndicates have different names. So they're basically, I don't know exactly how it works, but my assumption is they're funded by Lloyd's of London. They're a company under Lloyd's of London, but they have a different name. And so you have to be able to know that, hey, this company is still Lloyd's of London.
It's like a Landstar agency kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, got it. Max, you're going to say something like before this
Oh
insurance.
no, I just I just have a totally different background than Roman. Just kind of get into logistics.
Okay, so give us your background, then we'll start maybe touch a little more on that insurance topic in a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah. So, like I said, totally different background. My dad actually was a driver for Sky Chef. It's the airport company that delivers food to the planes.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
Yeah. So that was one of his first jobs in America.
Okay.
And then from that point on, I think like in 2004 is when he officially started being a truck driver. And so he started working for one of his brothers. And I still remember to this day, like the day that he got that job, because it was a much better paying job than what he was currently doing. You know, we went to the store, got a bunch of groceries, we got watermelon, you know, like in Ukrainian families, when you get watermelon, like that's just the kind of celebrations going down, you know. We got watermelon, you know, we were super stoked about it. And so, so since 2004, my dad's been a driver. And that was kind of like my introduction to the entire logistics sphere, you know. I remember being like 10 years old, and my dad, you know, obviously English is not his first language. So I would be calling these brokers and like telling them, hey, he's, you know, doing this and this or whatever, like helping him out and whatnot. Also, I'm not sure how legal this is, but I would go on some trips with him, you know, occasionally.
Yeah. Depends on the insurance. If the insurance.
Yeah, if you got to London, then you're not good.
Yeah.
But so like I'd go on trips with him and stuff like that since I was like a kid, you know, and just, you know, going to shipping warehouses, receiving warehouses, you know, just kind of seeing how all that stuff works, putting in the load locks for him, shutting the swing doors, you know.
He was teaching you while you were young, you know. Like
exactly, pushing the air brakes, how to do the thing with the trailer, you know, and get the fifth wheel unhooked and all that kind of stuff, the air hoses. So that was kind of like my early intro into it. And then, like you said, there's a huge diaspora of people here that are, you know, involved in logistics. So a lot of family members that are involved in the trucking industry, you know, and a lot of people that we know in this area that are involved in that industry. So we're just kind of always around, you know.
Sure.
Since I was a kid, I always had this kind of like vision or like kind of like dream, you know, like when you're just laying at night and you just like think about stuff. I always saw myself, you know, involved in something to do with trucking. I wasn't really sure what it was, but it was always kind of like in the back of my head, you know. I did a few construction jobs when I was kind of like in my teen years, you know. There was a point in my life, and we can probably touch on that later, when I went to Hawaii and worked there for a little bit, did some contract work out there. But long story short, it was around 2018 is when I met him through my brother, actually, who worked at the same insurance agency as Roman at the same time. And he's like, hey, one of my coworkers needs some help dispatching. I just was out of a job from my construction gig that I had. It kind of fell through. And he's like, hey, help my guy out. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? You know, I'm totally down for that. So we met up at a Starbucks, the one over there on 4th Plain. Had like an interview. I was super stoked about it. I was like, dude, let's do this, man. Let's get it done.
That's great.
And so 5 a.m., you know, rolling into the office. From their insurance office, I'd come in, just sit next to him, and just kind of shadow him until I learned. Started booking my own loads, and then so that's kind of the intro to logistics for me.
What year was that?
2018.
2018. Okay, so you were just like 19 years old then.
I was 19 years old.
You're 24 right now.
I'm 24 right now. Correct.
Yeah. Wow. That's just kind of incredible to see like you, because we spent some time yesterday, and it was incredible to see like the maturity level you have, because like when I was 24, I was so different, and I'm like, wow, like
we were talking about this morning, you know. I was like, man, they're like 24 years old, you know. And they're
so young. Roman's what? You're 29.
Roman's 29.
28.
Okay, 28.
Yeah.
Come on.
Dude, you look young too.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly thought you were 24.
And I shaved my beard a little bit. So
you look
like...
younger than him. It's the construction work. I got you.
I got
not the driving. But no, it's still, we were talking about it this morning, you know, where you guys are so young and like so motivated and so like hustling,
and, like,
you know.
We had dinner last night, and like you were like talking about like kind of like the way you view life, and like the thought process that you were having, and that essentially led you to where you are right now. And I'm like, wow, like these are like very mature thoughts, because these are the thoughts that I just had recently as well. So, and then like we go into this office, and it's like a super clean office, everything's put together. It's like the nicest brokerage office from like a maintained cleanliness. Off, like it's really well maintained, great place, and I really like have a lot of respect for that, because it seems like you have everything put together. You have a baby now. You're married, so it's definitely big props.
Thank you guys.
Because at 24, I was literally driving a truck and just posting Swift memes, you know. And you guys are, like 24 and 28, you know, you guys have like this nice office and everything. It's really, really nice.
Appreciate that, guys. Definitely been a long time coming. A lot of work put into this whole entire process to what you see today. You know, it's like, I forgot what the quote is or how it goes, but it's like what people see today is the result and manifestation or whatever of like years and years of prayer, hard work, all those kind of things, sacrifices, you know. So you guys are here for the end game, but it's definitely been a long road coming up to this too. So
definitely.
Nice.
Can you guys tell us about like when did you like start thinking about starting a brokerage, and how did that look like?
Yeah.
And when did you actually start?
Yeah.
And like start like go from there.
Yeah.
I'll probably, you wanna? I do it?
Yeah. You start.
So It was around like, so 2019 is when we really kind of dove into box trucking. So the story kind of behind the box truck company. So this is kind of a big part of the whole story here. So essentially what happened was we started dispatching together. About a few months in, I was at a holiday party with one of my family members, and he's telling me, he's like, hey man, I have this box truck. I heard you're a dispatcher now. Can you load my truck? And I'm like, yeah, of course, like no problem, anytime.
Easy.
Easy.
Yeah.
I had no idea though that box trucks was a whole different world of freight than what I was doing. I was just booking loads off DAT and truck stop, whereas box trucks primarily, a lot of that stuff is expedite freight that's booked on Selectus. You guys know what Selectus?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I didn't even know what that was at the time yet, and so long story short, we were talking about that. I said, okay, look, I'm gonna look into it, and so I started looking into it. I was like, hey, Roman, this looks like a really good opportunity, man. We should give this a shot. And so did some more research, found out it could be a pretty lucrative opportunity. There's not a lot of people doing it. Pretty much anyone that I knew was somehow involved with semi-trucks, but nobody was involved with straight trucks or box trucks at the time in 2018, at least in our kind of circle of people. And so I was like, hey, dude, let's go half-half, start a company, and let's do box trucks, So I actually had to sell my car at the time to buy this box truck. I had a BMW. I sold that thing. We went half-half on that truck, and it was literally just like
you bought the truck.
So we bought the truck. Yeah.
You bought the truck from your family member.
No. We bought the truck just from some guy on Craigslist.
A box truck.
Got it. Yeah, box truck. Yeah, you bought the box truck. How much was it? Do you remember?
It was what, 12,000?
It was like 12,500. Yeah.
12,500.
It wasn't like.
How big was it?
It was a 16-foot Penske truck.
Okay.
But 3 or 4 feet of it was cut out of the box. So basically, the cab and the box are not together.
Sure.
But essentially what you do is you cut out, dude, this is like the most Jimmy Rig thing in the world, but you cut out essentially that little area right there.
Yeah.
You put like the insulation foam stuff or whatever.
Okay.
And you build out a sleeper. And so that's literally,
Really?
it's literally just a piece of plywood
Okay.
with a mattress. And then we threw a microwave in there. We threw a fridge in there.
Okay.
Dude, that microwave was such a bad idea. Rattling so hard the entire time. They have no suspension in there.
Wait, so you paid $12,000 for it?
Yeah.
How many miles did it have? Like, was it like actually functioning? Or did you have to go to like the mechanic and like get it fixed up?
Truck number 1 was it like 100,000 on it? Or
Yeah, it was
80,000?
like 120 or so.
Okay, that's pretty cheap. Like, I mean,
it's a box truck.
It's a
Okay.
box.
I don't know much about box
fair
trucks.
price
So
for it.
Yeah.
at
it
the
was
time.
fair price? Okay,
Yeah.
so, and then like you guys fixed it up. You put like a sleeper in there.
No, so the first one we bought already had a sleeper.
So the
in
dude
it.
that we bought
Okay.
it from was another Slavic dude that actually already had the whole setup done.
Yeah.
But that's
Okay.
kind of what our blueprint was for the future trucks.
Okay.
And honestly, he was very helpful because he told us a lot of basically the inside things that we should know before getting into this.
Yeah.
So he's like, hey, make sure to do this, make sure to do that, make sure to have,
Sure.
this much money, this
Yeah.
credit card,
Okay.
So he helped us a lot.
So you got this pickup, not pickup, you got this
truck.
box truck. Yeah, 16 foot. And then were you guys driving it? What was that? Like,
That was Max.
So here's the story.
Yeah.
So basically the plan was, it's always like the plan and then how it actually goes. So
Yeah.
the plan was
That's
we're
true.
gonna get a driver,
Yeah.
put the driver on the truck, dispatch the truck, make the monies, and go forward.
Make
What
the
actually,
tendies.
yeah, 10 Ds exactly.
Yeah.
What actually ended up happening was the driver that we were trying to hire was one of my like childhood buddies actually, and he was a little bit kind of nervous about the whole thing. So I was like, hey man, I'll go with you on the first trip, just kind of like show the dedication. I was like, hey, let's do this together. We'll go a team trip. Keep in mind, this is a tiny box truck. This is not no semi-truck cab sleeper with air suspension.
Sure.
This
You're
is a
sleeping
box
like
truck.
a mummy inside there.
Straight up.
Yeah.
And it's like on spring suspension,
what a
leaf
mummy
springs
is,
or
right?
whatever. So you don't have much like
Yeah.
support. So if someone's driving and you're in the back, you're catching air like on every single, dude, I remember, what's that one stretch of road in Texas? Is it I-40 or something like that? Where they have the terrible road they're doing construction on for like 5 years?
Yeah. Well, actually, I-35 going down south to Laredo, they have a really, really bad road. But like all over.
One of those roads
Yeah.
from LA basically to like Houston or Dallas or something like that. It was
Okay.
always that route.
Yeah.
It was terrible. But anyway, so we went on the first trip together. He hated it, quit after the first trip. And so now we have this truck. We have this insurance policy that we have to pay for, expensive insurance. I put everything that I have into this whole entire thing. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess I got to strap down, get on this truck and start driving. So I started driving the truck myself. That was in I think August of 2019.
August, yeah, something around
Okay.
there.
And so that was the start of that whole venture.
Real quick, I'm
Yeah.
just curious. You don't need a CDL for this, right?
No.
Yeah, and there's no hours of service. You can just keep driving.
You could
This is where it gets kind of hairy because I remember one of our drivers one time, furthermore down the line of this whole chain of events, got pulled over, I think in New Mexico.
Okay.
And it was like a DOT guy, and he was basically telling him that he did But essentially what we had going on was because the gross vehicle weight rating was under 10,000,
Yeah.
Okay.
12 or 10,000, one of those two
I know
numbers.
it's 26,000 now for like hot shots.
That,
but you don't need,
I
like,
think
a
that's for
logbook.
intrastate possibly. I'm not sure, honestly. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
But in our situation, it was because it's under 10,000 pounds, you didn't have to
Yeah.
have any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so basically, yeah.
Okay. So you're just driving around August 2019. We're making good money on it?
Dude, so funny story actually. So the first trip that I did on my own, I was out for 3 weeks on the road.
Wow.
OTR,
You
yeah.
were living in that.
I was living in that aluminum box.
What
dude.
were you like? Okay, actually, before we get into more details, like, how was the life of living in there for 3 weeks? Like,
Honestly, man, it wasn't too bad. Like, straight up. I honestly didn't really mind it. I'm kind of like the type of person where I can be very social, but at the same time, I can kind of like zone out and do my own thing, you know? I really enjoyed it, honestly. I would just kind of do my thing, you know? Like, as long as the loads were paying good and, like, you know, that whole side of the business was moving smoothly,
yeah.
which I was pretty much dispatching myself at the time, too, out of the truck.
Okay.
Because he was doing insurance at home, kind of doing the back end stuff.
Yeah.
And I was the one with the access to the Selectus load board, which is a different part of the story. But anyways, yeah, so I didn't mind it too much, honestly. It was pretty cool. I got to travel around a bunch of places. I went to New Orleans, went to Denver, went to somewhere in Florida, went to LA, went up north to like the New England states, went to you know, Texas, like all these different places that I wouldn't typically go to just randomly, like for vacation, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So I honestly didn't mind it that much. I actually
cool,
kind of enjoyed
actually.
it. It was really cool,
no,
dude.
at the beginning when I started
I kind of
driving,
want to do
dude,
that, to be
I
honest.
loved
Like
it.
right now.
Yeah.
Dude, Paul, I think you love it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly,
You were
Sounds
talking
awesome.
about getting an RV this morning.
I
You know,
did.
you're like,
Like
this is
the
what I want.
Mercedes
So
van.
why
with the-
not
Yes.
just get a box truck, dude, and just drive and make
Literally.
money while you're doing it?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So funny story, actually. So on that trip, the first trip, I went to LA, went to Huntington Beach, and that's the cool thing about this
Park
little
the
box
truck
truck.
right on the beach.
Straight up. So
Yeah,
like,
exactly,
there's like that
yeah.
neighborhood that's like right there on Huntington Beach, if you guys ever been there. And it's just
Yeah.
like a public street parking, you know,
Yeah.
and the thing is small enough to where you can park it on the street.
That's
so I'm
amazing.
literally like beachfront nearly. I could buy like a little lawnmower for like $70. So I'm just chilling there, you know. Long story short, time comes to you know, book a load and get out of there. So I booked a load, I think, going to somewhere east, I think like Texas or something like that.
Okay.
Picking up in, I think, Commerce, California.
Okay.
So I was ready to start heading out. I'm in Huntington Beach, and I took a wrong turn, and I'm in this 20-foot box truck or whatever, you know, like the whole entire thing. And I'm making a U-turn or trying to make a 3-point turn, and I back straight into a brand new Audi on the street, dude. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like 19. I just started this business. I've been on the road for a couple weeks already, so I made some money, but like I just started this whole thing, and I'm like, dude, this is gonna shut us down, man. He's gonna want to do a claim. Roman's like telling me, like, Max, make sure not get any tickets. Make sure to drive carefully. We can't afford any kind of stuff on our insurance right now. It's a commercial policy. It's a big deal.
First year in business and already a claim.
I'm like, oh my gosh,
it's a liability.
man.
Okay.
I didn't even have time to even react, and this guy's already coming out of his house with his camera. He's like, don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. I'm like, hey, man, I'm totally chill. Like, I'm not trying to do anything. He's like, I'm calling the police. No. I'm like, hey, please do not call the police. Like, I cannot have an insurance claim right now. Like, I just started this business. I will pay you everything. Like, he's like, okay, you know, so long story short, we had basically two options. Either pay this guy cash or do an insurance claim. So like, I don't know how, but by the grace of God, somehow I convinced him to hold off on the claim for a little bit. I was like, hey, take it to a shop, get an inspection, see what comes out. I'm not going to, you know, run away. You have my license, you have my plates, you have everything, you have our company name. And so this guy ended up being like some kind of Pixar executive, dude.
Okay, wow.
Straight up, dude. And so, like, I mean, living in Huntington Beach, California, like around the beach, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so long story short, it was like a $7,000 repair bill.
Okay.
And this guy's like, hey, are you going to pay for my rental car too? And I'm like, well, I mean, I guess, you know, if it's going to be the whole shebang. And so here I am, basically, at that point, I was on the road for like about 3 weeks, and I had made to my, like, for the company and myself, just around $6,000, you know? And I was really proud of that. And here, this whole entire amount just gets sunken into this guy in this whole situation. That was a really big setback. I remember I was really disappointed about that. But it just, you know, it was one of those things, you know, you go through life, you sometimes have like a little minor setback, but it's fine. And so after that whole thing happened, just kind of kept progressing, kept chugging along. And then I remember I was like really just praying a lot. I was like, man, I really want to get a driver on this truck because I don't want to drive this thing anymore. It was already like 4 months on the road at that point. So basically in that 4-month stretch, I did about 50 or 60,000 miles.
Okay.
I was home for maybe like a week or two in that whole entire process, but I was on the road a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I was on the road a lot because with box trucks, especially with those small ones, you got to be on the road for like a month at a time, you know,
Dang.
just to make the same money.
I remember
as like a
my
semi.
first time I ever did, like, it was 3 weeks. I went actually to Idaho, 3 or 4
With a
weeks.
semi truck.
Yeah, with the semi truck.
Yeah.
Dude, I almost lost it, like, for real. Because it's hard to stay out for that long.
For real.
Well, for real, for real. When I was like that, like when you're that long out, you know, you kind of like your brain starts working a little bit differently. So it's always good. Like I remember after that, I would just always go home for like literally a couple of days, just reset and then go back out.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So
But-
that's definitely a grind season. But then finally we got a second driver or a driver on the truck. This dude's name was Alexi. He was a crazy guy, but that's a whole different story. But
Crazy in a good way or a bad way?
In a bad way, dude. This guy was something else, man. He was just like, he was one of those drivers that every time he gets on the phone just cusses you out immediately for whatever he has problems in his life, whatever's going on, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so at the time though, he was a blessing, you know. So we took him, you know, but we got him in. Eventually ended up getting a second truck and a third and a fourth. And so basically I think it was like by sometime like late 2020 was when we had already the fourth truck. So it was a pretty quick, you know, we got some loans though. So the first truck we bought cash. The other trucks we got some loans on them, so it wasn't all cash straight up, you know. But we had 4 trucks running. It was pretty good. We were making decent money. I honestly don't remember what the numbers were.
Yeah.
Just being straight up, I don't remember what they were, but they weren't too bad.
Sure.
Nothing crazy. And then like kind of in 2021, so along this time, I'm starting to kind of dive more into the whole, you know, transportation logistics sphere. And at the same time, we're kind of running a small fleet, you know, and so I'm seeing brokers and the brokerages kind of taking off, you know. So I'm seeing some people start some brokerages up. I'm seeing that kind of like get some traction in that side of the world. And I realized I never really looked into that too much. At the same time, we're having issues with our trucks, man. Like, you know, have a good month. All of a sudden, driver calls you, hey, my transmission broke down, you know.
That's how trucking is. Literally.
7,000 right there, you know. We just got, I'll never forget. I was on a date with my, at the time, girlfriend, which is now my wife. We're like at the airport just chilling. And I'm literally telling her the story of how my driver had a transmission breakdown. It was a whole big thing, but we finally got it figured out. I kid you not. As soon as I'm done talking about that, same driver calls me. Hey, I have a whole big pool of oil on the ground right now. I think my engine blew. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, you got to be kidding me right now. So it was kind of like that type of stuff. Just kept on happening, piling up. Then one driver quits. Then someone else is pissed and they leave the truck somewhere else. You know, dude, we had a driver that covered the entire back of the truck in bumper stickers, dude. Like just. Dude, weird stuff.
That's interesting. It's funny. This is a kind of offside. You're saying about the driver doing that. Did you see the TikTok that just went viral? This guy posted it. So I just hired a driver for my box truck, and he just dropped this off after 3 days, and he pops this thing open. It's a convertible now. Dude, the dude brought the truck back up and literally has no top. So he literally drove it for 2 days.
What? Huh? He hit a bridge or something, or what?
Yeah, he hit a bridge. So he hired a driver. The driver drove. He posted on a TikTok. That's what I'm getting. He brought it back in 2 days. Literally came back with the convertible the whole time. Just left the truck, left the keys.
I would not be surprised. Dude.
But it's interesting that you say that because literally that's how trucking is, and a lot of people don't realize it. Even a lot of like owner operators start the same thing, you know, and they start making a lot more money in the beginning.
Yeah.
And they think, wow, you know, my owner was screwing me or my company was screwing me. All this. Until like they have the first breakdown or until something major happens. And then they realize, well, now they're spending like time being home, right? They still got to make their payments for the truck.
Yeah.
And now they're losing thousands and thousands of dollars just to get the truck fixed, you know? And that's literally how it is. And it's crazy. It's literally insane. It's like nonstop, you know?
And also box trucks are not the same as semi trucks. They're not meant to go 500,000 miles.
Right.
They can if you treat them well, but a lot of times things happen. We went through, I believe, if I remember correctly, 8 transmissions and 4 engines between all the units in like 2 years of owning them.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And the thing is, it's not just the actual unit itself, but you got to pay for the towing. The driver's stuck, so you got to get them a hotel. Yeah. And this takes, 10 to 15 days. And, at least back in the day, these like transmissions and engines were pretty common, so you can find them quickly.
It's just GM parts. It's a GMC Savannah, essentially, is what it is, the vans.
But still, like, if you made profit in that trip, you lost all of it there.
And that's what a lot of people, I think, don't realize. You know, with trucking, I really think people don't realize it because you can make money, and then you could literally one bad week or one bad month, and you could just literally all the money that you made, it just goes down the hill. You know, lose it.
Yeah. So basically, like around that time, what I'm telling you guys about, I'm kind of starting to look more into brokerage stuff. We're having a lot of hassle on the asset-based side of our transportation situation, whatever we had going on at the time. And I'm just thinking, like, man, dude, I would love to be involved in this business, but not have the liability of these trucks, man. Just this metal that just rusts and just breaks down all the time. And I'm like, dude, what can we kind of figure out? And I had some people in my circle that were in brokerage, and I was looking at them. I was like, okay, they're doing pretty good. Looks like they got something good going for them. I was gonna start looking into it, Yeah. We started doing our research and whatnot. Essentially, I think it was like within half a year from that point, we were like, okay, we want to probably, start trying this out, you know. Keep in mind, we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into whatsoever,
yeah.
you know.
No.
And so in about sometime in 2021, I think in the summertime was when we were trying to make it legit. What was the official first month of CBS?
September something of 2021.
July or September, somewhere in late summer, somewhere around there was when we officially opened up CBS. But yeah, Bob, go back quickly to what you were saying. You know, a lot of people don't realize that to be a business owner, even independent owner like a owner operator of a truck, it's a big responsibility, man.
Huge.
And I think a lot of people get kind of blinded by. I think social media might have something to do with it nowadays too. It's like you could be an owner operator and make $20,000 a month, you know, make $250K a year, and have a Lamborghini
or this is
or
what I made today, you know, or this is I booked this load, for that.
Dude, I think social media is such garbage when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like you'll see those guys guaranteeing you this in this many days, or you know, just like so many false
rich schemes.
Exactly.
I mean, it's existed for years though, like you know. It's
exactly. So now it's just moved its way to the transportation industry, and so you have all these guys during the COVID surge in 2021 that you know got $300,000 trucks with $100,000 reefer units or dry vans or whatever. You know, they have like $400,000 in debt, and now they're in this market and they're not surviving whatsoever. You know, they got kind of misled, you know, or they got into some kind of bad agreement or bad deal. And now they're stuck with all these maintenance, all these payments, and they have no idea what to do whatsoever, you know? So I would say, like, if you're looking to get into transportation as a starting career, like as a driver or like as a truck driver, definitely go the company driver route rather than trying to make it on your own, being like a owner-operator. Even if you're just a dispatcher and you want to get into it, I would still recommend being a driver first, just to get that background knowledge on the entire industry, because, like, even though I was just a box truck driver for a little bit, I know what it's like to shower in a truck stop in the middle of Nebraska at night. I know what it's like to have to put the seatbelt through your door so you don't feel safe or whatever, you know what I mean? I know what it's like to be stuck in LA at a pickup for 6 hours in the shipping receiving line and they shut down that same day. I know what it's like to have a rejected load. I know what it's like to go to pick up a load and it's not what you were promised and you can't pick it up.
Exactly.
I've experienced all those different things, you know, and you were right there by my side, not physically, but on the phone, you know, because we're dealing with it together. So I think that was one of the things that kind of gave us confidence to be able to dive into the brokerage world. Was like, look, I know the dispatching side. He knows the commercial side, the legal side. You know, I know some of the truck driving side from my own experience, as well as you know people around me and my dad being a driver for so long. I think we can, you know, bring a really good angle to this whole brokerage thing. You know, because and again, being in that industry for so long or being around it, we would see how some of these big players are moving in the brokerage world. And we're just like, man, these guys aren't really doing it so good, you know. Like we feel like we could do a lot better, or at least I would think that. I think I can do this a lot better than these people, you know. And so the time kind of just came to put our money where our mouth is, and so that's exactly how CBS kind of was born.
Okay.
And to preface this, is like the box trucking business really built up our relationship and like that trust.
The trust and everything,
yeah, because
you have a good dynamic. I like it.
Yeah. We're so different that it works, you know.
Totally.
And of course, a lot of people are like, they're like, oh, partners, this and that, whatever. We've been through enough experiences where, like, you know, we fully trust somebody. You know, we're gonna be able to get through this.
100%. A lot of people ask, like, how do you trust your partner? How's this? Like, how do you guys? How do you trust each other? Is it
we talk a lot?
Talk a lot.
Yeah, and we need to even talk more. We like. I think it was last week, we were like, hey, did you realize that we spend so much time at work, but we don't spend as much time outside of work? So we're like, it's almost like a relationship like with your wife or girlfriend. Like we have to have a date night, you know, every week. But
100%.
We said, hey, we're going to go to lunch, not when you were in the office, like somewhere completely different, talk about different things, and then bring it back to work stuff, you know?
Sure.
I think one of the biggest things, and not to cut you off, but I think one of the biggest things when it comes to trusting your partner, because we had some fallouts too, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And
when
I built this up.
Yeah, when I was box trucking, for example, I'll tell you the first time we had like a little argument, you know? And also I think one of the reasons why we're even able to be partners after 5 years of being in business together is because we are such a dynamic kind of duo. There's such a big difference between us, you know? So basically the story is I was, again, in California, but this was like a different trip. But I'm basically sitting there. I was like without a load already for like 3 or 4 days. I was getting kind of antsy. I'm just kind of getting pissed off, you know how it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, this guy Roman, he's out there in his office all comfortable. He's screwing me over, you know?
Yeah.
Start kind of getting in my own head.
Yeah, it gets
you know?
in your head,
Going crazy a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so I call him, and he's doing what he should be doing, you know? I call him just kind of out of the blue. I'm like, Roman, I'm kind of pissed off.
Chilling.
Yeah, he's doing his thing. I'm like, Roman, you're screwing me over, man. I don't know if I want to do this business with you anymore, man. You're just sitting there. I'm doing all the work, blah, blah, blah. In reality, Roman was probably doing more work than I was behind the scenes with the whole accounting part of keeping the business running, keeping everything, all the finances in check, you know? But I'm sitting there and it's like, if you don't have that level of transparency and communication, and that's why CBS is so much about transparency and truthfulness, integrity. Why? It's because we found in our own business relationship that it's imperative to have that transparency between business partners in any kind of business interaction, whether you are a customer to broker, broker to carrier, carrier to whoever, you got to be transparent, and people need to know that they have you when they're working with you.
Yeah.
As soon as you start kind of scheming behind the background, or you're like or someone asks you a question, you kind of duck the question, they might not respond to it, but they'll see it. People are smart. They recognize that you're not being honest and transparent, and that trust goes away, So if you're not completely open with your business partner, it's not going to work out. Kind of to what else I was saying is like, we're so different. I'm much more kind of like extroverted, much more vocal, much more kind of upfront type of guy. Roman's a little bit more reserved, a little bit more behind the scenes, but he's the spine, the backbone of this entire company. This company would not run. I could not do it without him 100%. So that's why we are, for sure, 100%. That's why we are who we are, is because he does all the technical, all the insurance, all the claim stuff, and we'll get into all that, all the finances, the accounting, AP, AR, HR. Like, this guy has 45 different hats, you know what I mean?
So what would you say to the people that say, hey, you shouldn't get into partners, they always end bad, or they always don't end well? What would you say to them?
I would say if you can honestly, it just depends on the person. So like, it just depends where your heart is at, honestly. Like, if you are kind of a greedy guy or girl, or whoever, if you're a greedy person and you kind of are looking to, get the most out of it by yourself, don't get a partner. Do it on your own, 100%. But if you understand and if you're self-aware of like, look, I lack in these areas. Like, I lack organization personally. I lack technological, knowledge, all that kind of stuff. I lack some stuff that Roman knows really, really well. And I was aware of that, but being partnered up with him when I was working for him made me even more aware of that, of like, look, I'm lacking in this, and this. I know that I could probably get maybe this far by myself, but I could get this much further with a good partner, So I would say partnerships definitely aren't for everybody. There are some people that built up really successful, great businesses on their own, with people's help, but as a partnership on their own, you know what I mean? So I would say it's not for everybody. Just kind of check yourself and see, what are your intentions? What kind of business are you trying to do? Are you trying to do a trucking company, owner-operator situation? Maybe you could do it by yourself. I'm not sure. Brokerage, I feel like, is one of those things where you definitely have to have at least a couple partners, if not even just one, because it's just such a broad range of responsibilities and things you have to take care of. You know what I mean?
I agree. So just take it back to summer of 2021. You guys actually opened up CBS.
Yeah.
Like, how did that look like? Was it just you two in the beginning, or did you guys already hire someone? What was that like?
So the kind of longer answer to the story is, it was summer. I remember I was at the beach here in Vancouver, and Max calls me, and we've talked about starting a brokerage, but that day was like let's do it. Like, let's do the background, getting the bond, getting the insurance, getting everything. And me thinking, so technically, I'm like, okay, we need, to have this much capital. We need to have these things done. We need these things to be legit. We can do it. It doesn't sound that hard or that crazy.
Sure.
And so I started working on all of that. We did, the filings, so we went public. To only then realize that, oh wow, it's a lot harder to get a customer than we ever expected. It was one of those things where I thought,
we didn't even know what we didn't even know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually good that you didn't know,
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't have done it probably. You wouldn't have started.
No,
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
If I would have, I mean, I don't know, maybe I still would have, but it's definitely a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, for sure.
All the expenses, in my opinion, you got to multiply twice or three times, whatever you expect it to be.
Sure.
All the challenges, multiply by 2 or 3 times.
Only 2 or 3 times? I feel like.
It might be 10.
10x, yeah.
But
Sure.
I knew that this was a challenging business. There's a lot of competition,
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's definitely harder than it looks.
Yeah.
We were very blessed with having a really good crew. So before we actually opened this office, we tried to do it just ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you came up to me, you were like, hey, we need more people. Like, we can't just pull it from us here. Like, we need to hire guys, but to hire guys, we need an office.
Yeah.
And so we took a big gamble on this office because we put a lot of money into it. And it was one of those things where any kind of business that starts up, you have a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
You have that threshold where to where, like, okay, we'll be good, but we got to start making progress in sales and onboarding and stuff like that. And honestly, a lot of credit goes to Max because he had a lot of people in his circle that he knew would be good people, good brokers, very coachable people. So I believe our very first employee.
So the first employee ever was Mark. But to go back to what you were saying, how it started out was me in my office, him in his office. First customer we ever got was just a local masonry company that was doing like bricks. It was super cheap, super like didn't make any money off of it whatsoever. But that was kind of the first one. But then quickly after that, we realized just how hard it was. Go ahead.
How'd you guys get the first customer?
So this was someone that I think Roman had in his circle.
Yeah.
Like it was like a friend of his dad had like a masonry company or something like that.
Okay.
And basically still needed to get set up and everything, but there wasn't as much of like a, hey, are you guys factory approved or whatever?
Sure.
You know what I
Yeah, it
mean?
was like,
It was a lot
more on
more
trust.
A small business, you know.
Exactly, yeah, business to business type of thing. So, but quickly after that time, we realized just how hard it was to get customers, especially as a new entity. Yeah, exactly. And then even more than that, it was difficult also to even sell anything too, you know?
Yeah.
And like I was telling you guys yesterday, that was kind of the easier part. I was telling you guys like...
To sell it, you mean by selling it is to sell it to a carrier for carrier to take
exactly,
it, right?
yeah.
And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand. They think, oh, once I get the customer, that's it, I'm all set, you know? But it's not true, because then you have to find the carrier that still wants to take it and to trust, you know, your company that you're brokering it out.
I feel like it's even more difficult nowadays just because of how much fraud. Like I think there's like a 70 or something like that % increase in fraud in 2023.
Yeah.
So even in 2021 it was difficult, but I think it'd be even more tough now for a carrier to trust a brand new brokerage off the book. Can you imagine that? Like nowadays, like no one would book with them, you know? And that's kind of how it was, you know, but like I always tell everyone, if you can't sell a load to a carrier, you shouldn't be a broker. You know what I mean?
You're not going to make it.
You're not going to make it.
You're not gonna make it, sorry.
If you can't sell to those guys, you're not going to sell to the shippers, man. You're just not. So, you know, doing 50-50 payments, you know, EFS or Zelle or whatever you were doing.
It was Zelle, EFS, Cash App, anything just for them to take it.
Anything.
I had the same situation. I know exactly what you mean. Okay, it's fascinating. So that was summer 2021. How did that look like? When did you like decide for the office, hire people?
So
timeline.
The office timeline was pretty much, it was already been about a year of the brokerage. We had some traction going. We had some, you know, some loads moving and whatnot. We're like, okay, look, I want to take this out of my house, because it was me in my house in my little office and him in his house in his little office, just doing it on our own.
Okay.
Like, hey, we want to have like a home base, want to have like an HQ, and build a company from there. You know what I mean? And so I know or knew or still know a lot of people, like I said, in the industry in this local Pacific Northwest area. But I was I was 22 at the time, or 23 or 22, and you were like 26, 27. And so we didn't really have that many connections like up there, you know what I mean? It was just guys kind of our age. And so I knew one of my close friends, actually also my cousin, he was working for a dispatching company a carrier company at the time. And I just knew that this guy would be a really great broker. I just knew his personality. I knew that he can sell, he can talk, he can, you know, light up a room. And so I started talking to him a little bit. I was like, hey man, you know, we're going to open up an office here shortly. Like, I really want you on our team. And he's like, okay, I'll let you know, I'll think about it, you know? In the meantime, I'm like, Roman, I don't want to waste any time with this. Like, this is going to be like a make or break situation. Because at this point in time, the box truck situation was kind of already on a decline. Because ever since 2021, 2022, you know.
So you still had box trucks.
Yeah. So we still had the box trucks in 2021. But like I said, the costs were rising. The costs to operate and own the truck were rising as well. Fuel was going through the roof, especially in early 2022.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, look.
Sorry to break you. Honestly, so many people got into the box truck game. There was like a thing where it was all over social media, all over, like get into box truck and get into this. Yeah. Sometimes when there's too many people going into it, that's when everything kind of goes to, you know, down.
Yeah. I'm not sure how much that had effect to it. I think a lot of it was like honestly, dude, gas was the biggest thing, because
fuel just killed it.
It shot up and
the profit margins
shot our margins just down through the floor. And so we're like, look.
Did you guys use any fuel cards or anything like that? Or, no.
So
maybe that's why.
We had no idea what we were doing, man, at all. We didn't know about none of those perks, none of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so we're like, look, Roman, we got to do this, you know? And so, you know, but at this point, you know, I had been in logistics for about four-ish years or something like that. You were in the professional world for like closer to like 10 years. Yeah. So, you know, we had some capital saved up. We're like, okay, look, we're going to try to make this office happen, you know? So like, where should we start? So we started looking at some small spaces, you know? And I'm like, man, I don't want to just get a small office and then just outgrow it right away. I want to have a little bit of a bigger space, you know?
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in do whatever you can to the best of your ability, you know? And so I was like, look.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but Max is the type of person that when he does something, he never does it like good enough. Like, it always goes extra.
I see that.
It doesn't matter if it's the office or if we're, let's say, going out to dinner or something like that. It always has to be like top notch or he's not happy with it, you know?
Yeah.
It's awesome, you know, because it pushes you to be like, okay, I need to be better in just everything. So
yeah, I've noticed that even with like yesterday, we were at the sauna and this and that. I'm like, hey, you got a nice setup, you know.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, dude, you got one life,
and it's the same as with his work ethic, you know. Like when he does something, when he talks to the guys, when we have like sales training, it's above and beyond every single time. We do it like every Monday, sometimes on a Friday. He does a great job of just making that all come together and just putting his best effort forward.
So let me ask you this. We're talking about this. So you guys had a plan to get this office when you guys, did you guys have a lot of customers at that time, or kind of not really?
Not really, honestly, man.
Wow.
It was
That's
a big
risk.
It was a big risk, yeah.
That's
so
a very big
we
risk.
had we had some income coming in. We were having some revenue coming in, but it was nothing to the point of like where it would be able to sustain itself or something like that, you know? But I really truly believed in, like I said, just
jump in and then figure it out or do
The
it.
thing is, I had a very clear vision. Like for me, and I believe for any entrepreneur or anyone that's watching this, if you have a vision of whatever it is you want to do, if you have a clear vision in your head of how you're going to execute, take that risk, take that jump, and just go for it. You can always make the money back. You can always restart if you need to. Take the risk. And that's exactly what it was. I had a very clear picture. I was like, okay, I want to have this office. I want to have this many employees. I want to have this many brokers. I want to have this many people here working with this amount of time. You know, we're going to make it work. You know, there's no plan B. Kind of like I said, burn the boats or whatever that saying is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're out there, you got to go. You know, and so it was around August of 2022 was when we found this location, this specific building. And they were actually trying to sell us the north side of the building, which had like the view of the parking garage.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what's the south side look like? And it's this nice view over here.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Amazing.
You can't really tell maybe right now, but
And
it's
Roman is like the more logical guy. He's like looking at the numbers. He's like, Max, I don't really know, you know? And I was like, dude, I don't care what you say. This is the spot. We got to get
it
this
even
spot.
motivates, like you kind of, we were talking about it later, you know, I would literally come here just to even chill, you know, like I would literally, why even go home, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
And it's hard to put a price on that.
Yeah,
You know?
no.
So
And
it's
that's
like,
exactly what it was. It's like, we're like, look, I want to create a space where people actually want to spend a quarter of their life or their day, day in and day out, 5 days a week. You know what I mean? Because I feel like a lot of the times when it comes to a business, it's like all about saving money, and there's the time for that. And I understand that. That's the appropriate thing to do if that's what you got going on. But we were in a space where like, look, I want to create a space here where people want to spend time. And so I want to make it nice. I want to make it presentable. I want to make it clean, like you guys said, you know? And so I was really, really big on like making this the best office around.
Dude,
you know?
I got to bring you to Charlotte so you could just reorganize my whole office and redo my whole
you should just hire him as a CEO.
Literally.
Like, Max, just leave
Because
CBS.
now you're like motivating me to like, I should do that because that actually makes sense, you know?
And at the same time, it's like, hey, you want to bring in quality people, right?
Yeah.
Well, quality people have high standards, you know what I mean? Like you want to take someone out of a bigger, more established brokerage or a company. Of course, an office is not going to be the make or break for them, but it might help a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, look, these guys are legit, you know, they have a legit office, you know, it's more of like a, kind of like a aura or something. I don't know how to explain it, but, and so, and that's pretty much exactly what happened,
It's like
you know?
a culture, right?
Yeah, culture, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm very, very proud of the company that we have built to this day. I'm really proud of our team. We have a very dynamic team with many different backgrounds.
Yeah.
And I think that everyone here understands where they're at, kind of like, look, this is not your typical Joe Schmo brokerage. This is something a little bit, you know, a step up from it. And it kind of carries its own kind of like weight in a sense, you know, where
like you're proud to kind of
exactly, you know, you're proud to work here, you're proud to be part of this company, you're proud to be, you know, part of this whole organization, and you bring your best. You know what I mean? That's excellency is everything that CBS is about. It's bringing your best foot forward every single time, no matter what. Every interaction, every conversation, every email, every phone call, I always encourage the whole entire team, be on your best foot forward. You know what I mean? I want to say best behavior, but like be at your best always, you know, because you never know. Like there's so many situations. One of our guys, actually, one of his customers that he has right now, he was sitting on a plane going on some trip or something like that. And the dude next to him happens to be some kind of big time shipper guy. And our guy is just talking about his loads or whatever, doing his stuff, and start talking, you know. Had he been clowning around or something like that, or messing around, or, you know, doing whatever, maybe that guy wouldn't have been so, you know, attracted to work with this guy. But I was like, look, you never know who's around you, even outside of the office, in city or whatever it is. You know, always put your best foot forward, always be aware of your surroundings, and like always just kind of like be that professional person, you know. You don't have to be a square, you know, be yourself, but be the best version of yourself is what I always kind of tell the guys.
I love that. That's amazing. I can't believe you're 24.
Yeah.
It's my bad. Like, I feel like you could be my mentor, you know, like
literally, yo.
I don't know about that, Paul.
We're gonna leave so motivated, yo. It's gonna be crazy.
Literally.
No,
Wow.
but that's awesome. No, you guys got a really, really good setup. Yeah.
Roman, you kind of touched about this beforehand. It's like your experience in insurance.
Yep.
And you kind of brought that knowledge here into CBS, and like it allows you to make decisions. I wanted to like learn about that. Can you talk about like what you learned from your
Sure.
time selling insurance and how it
And-
actually helps you now owning a brokerage?
And how long were you doing it too? Because
I was doing it for about 2 years. So
years.
I was dispatching, and then I was just running out of time. Couldn't do everything at once.
Was it 2
So-
or like 4? 2016? Like
It was like 2.5.
Really?
Honestly, things get blurry once we started the office because it just moves so fast.
Yeah.
Like it feels like time just shrunk.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did it for about 2.5 years. I actually really enjoyed the sales portion of it. I got to learn a lot of the background of what insurances provide, what kind of coverages they're good for, which companies are good, which companies are bad. So right now for the guys, I literally made a list. I said, only book these companies, do not book. If you see this, do not. If there's anything in between, come to me, text me, message me, come into my office, verify the insurance with me before you sell this load.
Okay.
The reason is, we knock on wood, or what it is, but we've had a very small amount of like problems with claims. But then again, we do a lot of reefer freight, so it's very sensitive product. So some people will say, oh, like if you had 1 or 2 claims, that's already bad. But like with this really sensitive product, like it is super common. You look at the product wrong and it was bad. So we only had, thankfully, like a few claims. And what happened was, what the experience that I want to tell you about, the carrier that delivered the product, it came in hot. So it was supposed to be at 34 degrees. It came in at 54 degrees.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty hot. And I thought it was a simple insurance claim. The product is hot. Obviously, something was wrong with the reefer, so they should pay out. So I filed under their insurance, and this was a this was a company that wasn't pre-checked by me. It was pre-checked by somebody else. It was, I'm not gonna say the insurance company name, but you can probably guess it. And it was a syndicate of that.
Let's just say it rhymes with Boyd's of Bundon.
Yes. It was a syndicate, so it had a different name.
Thank you, Max.
It was a different name, but it was working the same kind of concept. So we filed under their insurance, and basically their insurance was like, yeah, we have to have the trucking company file it. I'm like, but it's technically my product, right? Or my customers. Like I'm doing it on their behalf. They're like, nope, sorry. So we finally were able to convince the carrier company to file it, and they declined it. And I'm like, why did you guys decline it? They're like, we can't tell you.
Keep in mind, this is a $52,000 claim.
Yes.
And if it does not get resolved, it's going to fall back either on the customer, carrier, or us.
Yeah.
And so declined. Won't give me a reason, won't respond to my emails, just won't have any conversations with us. Thankfully, we have good insurance, through us, and I submitted to our insurance, and our insurance declines. And I'm like, okay, now something's weird. So, but our insurance will explain to us why it was declined. So it was declined because technically nothing was broken with the reefer, and they don't cover spoilage. Spoilage, so like if the load toppled over, they would pay out.
Sure.
But just because it went bad, they don't cover that. And so I'm like, well, the reefer was set at 34 degrees. It showed up at 54. Like, how does that even make any sense? Like, something was obviously broken. They're like, do you have a mechanical breakdown? Nothing? No. Okay, sorry. So this trucking company actually stopped talking to us. I think now they went out of business completely.
Yeah, they're actually out of service already.
Out of service,
Okay.
yeah. They stopped responding to our calls after the whole insurance situation. They stopped talking to us. But I know insurance, and I know if you read through your policy packet, that's like 150 pages, very
Fine print.
Written by lawyers. That's every single sentence you have to put in ChatGPT and tell me like the 5-year-old version of it.
Yeah.
Roman, I'm going to talk real quick. So just for background, anyone watching, so like at any typical brokerage company, or at least maybe a smaller company, this would pretty much be the end of the road. So you got denied by your insurance, you got denied by the carrier's insurance or whatnot. That's pretty much as far as like the typical person's knowledge scope of that kind of stuff goes. Roman, though, having his background, starts, kind of, okay, plan B, Me personally, at that point in time, I thought we were done for. Like I thought
when was this exactly?
This was like in the last year.
Yeah, it was last year. It was like around the summertime.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, in my eyes, just from my not really knowing much about insurance, and to anyone else that's watching it, probably in their company, that's pretty much the end of the road for you. You're like, look.
Otherwise, you pay it out, though.
Otherwise, either you pay it out,
Yeah.
so the carrier went out of service, so they're not paying anything.
Yeah.
And with customers, so this is what a lot of people don't know with brokerages, is like, you have your credit limit for the customer to you, but they also have one as well with potentially their customer or someone that they work with. And so if they're working with you and there's a $50,000 claim, right? Well, that claim might be enough for them to say, look, we're not going to work with you anymore because this huge claim balance, you know, and it doesn't make sense for their risk management team or whatever, you know, with a lot of these bigger, you know, shippers and bigger companies. And so effectively that could have ended our relationship with this customer had we not had Roman, and then I'll let you continue on with whatever.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, a lot of customers have their own insurance policies for these kind of contingencies. Carrier insurance doesn't cover, broker insurance doesn't cover. They have to come in and cover their freight.
Cover it themselves.
But once that happens, they don't work with you anymore.
The likelihood of that happening, yeah, because you technically lose your credit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was this a new customer or like a customer you guys
it
always
was an
worked?
established customer.
Oh, yeah?
It was somebody that
one of our bigger customers.
Yeah, one of our bigger, like they really respect us. We really respect them. So that relationship was really strong. We wanted to keep it as best as possible.
Met them in person, flew out, saw them, like good relationship.
Good people, yeah. And so I had to read through this whole policy packet to figure out what kind of angle I have on this, because I know I'm right. Like internally, you know that you're right. You paid for insurance.
Right.
Product went bad. It wasn't anybody's mistake. So what I did have is a reefer download. So that helped me out. And I had it directly from the reefer center that did the download.
Mm-hmm.
And he's right. The trucking company, they put in a temperature of 34 degrees and it would just kept spiking and spiking. But, you know, like right on the left-hand side, it shows you what you inputted. And then it shows you what the actual temperature is. Well, I sent them that reefer download. I got declined. I can't remember what I did the second time, but the third time, I realized that on the reefer download, there were numbers on the side in the comments section. Researching those numbers, I found out that there are fault codes. And each fault code had some kind of correlation. So I downloaded this paper sheet. I believe it was from Thermo King.
This is like CSI level stuff here, guys.
Yeah. I downloaded it and I'm like, okay, what do these codes mean? And a lot of them were like hot exhaust temp, some kind of drain issue. So what I don't exactly know, but there was something wrong with the generator or the motor, and also the exhaust got clogged up. I got iced over, and so it could not push out like the water. So now I have some kind of background to say, hey, this truck was actually broken.
Yeah.
And so I called Thermo King, one of the mechanics there. Or engineers actually.
Yeah.
And then I called the facility that did the actual download and I said, guys, I have this problem. I have this claim. They're not paying out. Can you tell me what's wrong with the truck? And basically they were like, look, we can't say anything and say that it was wrong because we actually didn't do an inspection. We just did the download. So however you want to interpret it is on you. He's like, but what I can tell you is that a reefer unit will never send you a fault code if it's working perfectly correct. It has to be an issue. So talking with Thermo King, they said, okay, this is my opinion of what I think was wrong with this claim. And so I got both of those things on email. I attached it to our insurance.
That was instrumental, by the way. That was key, getting those emails from those engineers.
Yeah, from those engineers, because they said, hey, if you have this fault code, there are two things that could happen. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I know one was the exhaust and the other one was the generator.
Major key for anyone that ever gets into a claim situation, reach out with reefers, which are usually the most expensive claims.
Yeah.
Submitted that, and lo and behold,
your insurance company accepted
our insurance covered it. But let me preface this. We got to the point with our customer that it's at over 90 days of the claim hasn't been paid. So they have an internal policy that, hey, we're going to submit this to our insurance and to get it paid out because we assume that you're not going to be able to cover it. We had to figure out the hard way and pay out this $52,000 claim out of pocket first, and then fingers crossed, hope and beg that our insurance would pay out.
And they did.
Eventually they did. Yeah.
Thankfully they did.
Thanks to Roman.
Yeah. But trust me, he was like, they're not paying, and I was like,
I honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't have any faith in the whole situation. I had faith in Roman, but not in the situation. And like that's what a lot of people that want to start a brokerage company will never like. There's no way you can think about that because it's so far in the future from where you're at, and it's like you gotta have some kind of either reserve or some kind of a situation where you have a backup of liquidity to where you can, in those kind of moments. Because had we not been able to cover that claim out of pocket at that time, which I'm not sure if we'd still do that, further on down the road. But at this stage in our company, it's like, look, this is one of our biggest customers. I don't want to have anyone else move my loads for that time. You know what I mean? So it's like, we have to make a decision, either make or break right now. Either, hope and pray and let them, kind of like go away for now and hope and pray the claim pays out and then try to fish our way back in, or, bite the bullet, take the hard route and just kind of hope for the best. And if not, then, we'll take a loss short term, but long term, hopefully we'll bounce back,
See, and a lot of people, I think in the trucking or from the carrier side don't realize that brokers still have a lot of responsibility because
A lot of liability.
Yeah, a lot of
risk.
liability. Yeah, a lot of risk too. A lot of carriers, I feel like they don't realize it. They just think like, hey, you know, all the liability is getting pushed off to the carriers and to everything
I think, Max, you brought that up when you were driving the box truck and you were in California and you got upset with Roman. But then, like you were saying, but Roman is actually like probably doing more than I was because he's doing all the back office support. And it's like, I feel like the same way goes with like a broker and a driver or a carrier. It's like, okay, like carriers always get upset with brokers. Yeah. And there's obviously a lot of brokers that, you know, they do maybe unethical things and they kind of, create this not misconception, but just they create like this situation where like drivers and trucking companies don't trust brokers. Right. But like at the end of the day, like having an operating brokerage is like very difficult. Yeah. It's like,
and when we started it, we in my head, I was like, it's a good business because one, less liability. No actual equipment. Yeah. No nothing.
That was a lie.
That was a lie, yeah.
No, I feel like it's still less liability than trucking. Because in
terms of like day-to-day stuff that's going to happen like on a Tuesday, for sure. Trucks are 100% worse. Yeah.
Because trucking you have, I mean, there's so
accidents, anything,
And then you're dealing with people, something broken, people like scarred for life or whatnot. There's a lot of things that go on. Yeah.
Yeah. So that happened with the claim. Mm-hmm. And that was like your insurance background that really helped you kind of like get out of this.
Because I knew that whatever's in the fine print, they have to cover. And they have like different stipulations like, oh, the truck must have been misfunctioning or broken for more than 24 hours. Well, the trip was 3 days. I was like, at least thank God for that. It was 3 days. It's perfect. And so there was different. So I had to sit for about 2 days, read it out. Yeah. A highlight. I still have the packet somewhere in my office. Wow. Had to highlight everything.
It's like a 100-page packet, dude.
Sure, yeah, that's amazing.
I would highly recommend anyone with like small or even medium-sized brokerage. I'm sure the big guys already have them, but invest in some kind of a inside claims specialist, someone that knows something about insurance, especially if you're a brokerage doing like sensitive freight. Yeah, for sure, it's a game changer.
We're just gonna put co-founder.
Yeah, like, exactly. Yeah,
that's a huge plus.
Yeah, super huge plus, dude. Like that's something that I advertise to almost all of our new prospects. Is like, look, we have an inside claims specialist, and this guy is legit because he actually is. You know,
like you wouldn't actually think about that. I didn't think about that ahead of time, but now like when I see it, I'm like, wow, that's like I remember just how many claims we had at my previous brokerage, and like how of a hassle like it was to like actually get everything done, and like how long it took to get payouts, and like things would just drag on, like nothing would actually happen, but like you would just come in, clean everything up. And like the customer must have appreciated that.
Customers were absolutely floored with this guy's performance during that whole situation. Like they did not even like it was like the same thing with me where it's like we're telling them, hey, we're making progress. So like yeah, we believe in you guys, But then actually when it actually came through, like, whoa, you guys actually did it? Like we're actually good to go. I'm like, no, we actually got everything squared away and we're good to go. Like, oh wow, okay.
That's awesome. That's like actually like a relationship builder, because you went through like a challenge and you overcame it. And now, like, they trust you so much more because of that.
And they appreciate it, too, that you put in the work and the hustle for them, for this relationship. Like, that speaks louder than any kind of a sales pitch or a pizza party or lunch or golf date or anything like that. It's like when you put in the sweat equity for these customers, they see that. Especially the medium to small size shippers, they really, really feel that difference. And you can never compare that to any of the billion-dollar corporation brokerages that work, because that's another thing. I don't want to go off into a tangent, but a lot of people don't realize that, like on the carrier side, for example, that like they hate the brokers, they're working with carrier reps. Carrier reps don't really have much skin in the game when it comes to like the load or the customer or anything like that, or the carrier, They're just there to make their little margin and go, with all due respect to them, but I think a lot of the reasons why the stigma comes from carriers to brokers is because they do get mistreated by them, because they don't really have too much to lose in it, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean?
See, I think back then there was different carriers reps. Like, I think back then, what a carrier rep was like, he's actually representing the carrier and tried to actually help the carrier out. Because we have, believe it or not, if you have a really, really good carrier rep in a company, that changes the whole game. Oh, yeah. So I'll kind of give a little bit of a shout out to Arrive. We used to never work with Arrive. Like, it was horrible until like actually Dave reached out to us on Instagram.
Dave Arrive?
Yeah, he kept reaching out to me, and then we started working with Dave. Dude, now we're booking. I think Arrive is like on our top 3 brokers that we work with.
That's what I'm hearing from a lot of people.
Yeah, if you have a really, really good rep, I think it changes the whole thing.
I think Arrive is probably the pioneer as far as like right now goes in the whole brokerage industry. Like, we pretty much, anything that comes to like, hey, how should we do this? We're looking at Arrive right now. Oh, really? Shout out to Arrive, big time. You guys are really killing it out there. It's super inspiring, the story. and everything, how they kind of built up the business and everything, and how far they got in 9 years, you know, to being a multi-billion-dollar brokerage. I think it's really inspiring, and I think they are probably the closest to what anyone that's starting out right now would like dream of becoming one day. Is like, you want to be like Arrive, you know what I mean? So big shout out to those guys.
Yeah, that's cool. So what's the next plan for you guys? What's the goals? What's the future looking like?
How far are you talking?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Let's give us. I want to hear. I guess the 1 year, 5 year, and 10 year.
1 year, 5 year, 10 year. Okay. 1 year. So what is that going to be? January 2025. So we're in this office per lease until, what is it?
2027, I believe.
2026 or 2027, something like
4-year
that.
lease.
So honestly, so we went from kind of get back to the story kind of. So our first additional broker besides us two was Mark Bossarab, and so that was in like just around the time the office was opening, like in the late 2022. So we basically the first official day of the office being a thing was like in December of 2022, and so from then to December 2023, we went from 3 guys, 3 brokers to 4, 5, basically like doubled or tripled in size. Basically, you know, we had like I think like 6 or 7 guys. I might have butchered that timeline a little bit. Basically, we had like, I think we went from 3 people to like 7, and right now we have, I think, 9 or 10 brokers.
9, 10 brokers.
Get that number down.
2 of us, and then the carrier sales team.
Yeah, so we have 9 or 10 brokers, 2 of us, and then 6 operations/carrier sales representatives that run that whole show.
Okay. So that's, and then taking it back now, or taking it forward, January 2025.
Yeah. So 1 year from now, yeah, I totally forgot about that. 1 year from now, honestly, I think this office will be packed out. I think we're gonna have to maybe even do a little bit of like an addition with some more desks.
Reconstruction.
So that's the 1 year as far as the company size goes.
Okay.
As far as company plans for the 5 year, I mean, dude, I don't know, man. It's honestly, that's one thing I learned about life is like, you really don't know where anything is going to go in any amount of time. Like 1 year from now, you know, I have my hopes and my dreams that we could be totally killing it, or we could not be, you know. I've found that in life, it's best to like hope for the best, expect the worst, you know. So I'm expecting to not make any progress, you know, just kind of stay where we're at right now. But I'm hoping that we're going to do 3x or whatever, you know what I mean? So I guess that answers your question.
Sure.
5 years from now, it would be amazing to have, you know, our own building probably, you know, our own office or something like that, you know. I think in 5 years from now, we'd want to like have, I don't know, probably close to, honestly, I want to focus less on the amount of people that we have and more so about the quality of what we're doing as a service and as a company. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not really so focused on like, I want to have 50 brokers in a year or like 100 people, you know, or like I want to gross $100 million or whatever, you know. For me, it's more about, and I think for Roman as well, this kind of speaks for both of us, is, you know, are we proud of what we've done or what we've established? You know, if that means
but you have to, you don't think you still have to kind of set some goals or hit certain?
Absolutely. And we do have those internal goals, like within the company meetings and stuff, and between us, like we have like certain revenue targets we're trying to hit, you know, things like that. But
just to that point also, like his goal could be like to be, you know, the best quality broker, and like that could be the goal, you know, like,
and the results will follow.
If you're the best quality broker though, is going to lead to having a lot of revenue too, because
exactly.
Like,
you know what my goal for this year is for our company? Is to hit 100 reviews on Google.
We're at 30 something. If you're watching this interview right now, leave a review on Google.
5 stars only.
Yes.
5 stars only. Yeah.
I'm bullish on you guys. I'm bullish on you guys.
Thank you.
Like I would invest if I had money. Like
perfect. We'll talk after the podcast.
Oh yeah.
No, for sure. No, you guys are very motivated and very like.
No, I definitely see like the vision that you guys are talking about, and like knowing you guys from the day that we spent together and like seeing the office and the people that you have, like you guys are gonna like kill
Succeed,
it. Like kill it. Like, you know, maybe you're not gonna have like 50 brokers or 100 brokers, but you're gonna be known for the quality, and I love that because I respect that so much more than someone telling me how much volume they do or how much revenue they do. Right?
Exactly.
It honestly means so much coming from you guys because again, we follow the things that you do. We look up to you guys. We love, you know, the podcast and everything. So it's awesome to have you guys here, but also the fact that you guys believe in us. That's great. Thank you.
Totally.
Thank you very much.
Means a lot.
To kind of touch into what you were saying, Paul and Bob, both of you guys. So I think if you set your sights on you want to hit $100 million, you can do that. You know, you can achieve that. But I think you might get a little bit lost along the way of what it is you were originally set out to do. You know what I mean? I feel like even with content creators on YouTube and whatnot, you know, these guys want to hit 1 million subscribers, you know, and so they might have a vision for what they want the YouTube channel to be, but then they get kind of sidetracked by the numbers, and then the quality goes down, things go down, they're not getting as much traction. They're like, where do we go wrong? You know, you lost your original passion and vision for what you wanted to start, you know? So I think if we focus right now on the people, focus on our customers that we service, focus on the businesses that we help, you know, create better transportation solutions for, like you said, the results will follow, you know? So I think that's kind of the blueprint that CBS wants to follow, is focusing 100% on our brokers, on our employees, on our carriers, on our customers, taking care of them, making sure they're, you know, well taken care of in everything in every front. And then from there, everything will follow. But I think if we just set our sights on like, look, we want to hit 500 million in 5 years or whatever, or $1 billion in 10 years or however long, it might cause us to make compromised decisions, maybe morally, maybe ethically, maybe long-term business-wise or something like that. And that's not really the route I want to go, because I feel like we've seen that kind of play out with a couple different companies, you know? You're seeing companies go, you know, belly side up, you know, every week now, it seems like. It's like, where do they go wrong? I feel like truly it's the original passion and vision that the people that founded that company that started it was lost, you know, and diluted far down the road.
Why do you think it was lost?
What do you mean?
Like, why do people lose, you know, the vision?
Because they have their sights set on the wrong thing. So like, for example, someone creates a transportation company because they want to help people, right? Or they want to have a successful business or something like that.
I'll be honest. I started, I think, transportation company, I guess, because I always wanted a company, but also to make money. And now it actually changed the opposite. I really do not care about money. I just like having a business and always being involved in something. Like, my worst thing is sitting at home and not doing anything. I think that's when I get like the most stressed out.
And so how much do you enjoy that? Like, actually, like, just
dude,
running
sometimes I literally want to burn everything to the ground. And then other days I'm walking out of the office, I'm literally making videos. I'm like, man, today was just a good day. It was like a fulfilled day, you know, and I
typical
like
carrier
great,
routine.
You know? But like, back to like your goals, because we were kind of talking about like 1 year goal and 5 years goals and, you know, 10-year goals. So we actually have like written down goals. Like, you know, me and my partner, we have like 1 year goal, we have a 5 year goal, and we have 10 years goal. And our goals, what I've noticed is like switching. Like, so we had, this is what we should be at, you know, this is how many trucks we want at 2 years, at 3 years, at 5 years, you know. And now what I realized, like you're saying, things always go wrong, everything change. And like, what I realized is like, it's a lot harder. I mean, it's taking so much like, you know, pressure and time and stress that like we kind of came together and we reevaluate your goals. You know, you kind of like redo your goals, and we realized like, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe we shouldn't have this many trucks. Maybe we should focus more on the quality. Maybe we should focus on this. Maybe we should focus on having like a life, you know, business balance, you know? So that's kind of what, you know, like we kind of do.
It's also not an exponential type of growth. I feel like people assume that like first year you're here and then you're here and then you're here. I don't know why, but it works like you're flat, up, down, flat, down, up, you know? And so, like you said, when you focus on, let's say, a 5 year goal, if we want to be at this much profit, is it even a good goal? Like, let's say we're at $100 million gross profit, but we're actually netting negative. Is, you know, like, is that?
And you have like terrible reviews on Google.
Exactly.
And trucking company, you have a bad reputation. You know, like,
exactly.
Reputation is everything in life,
huge.
right?
Exactly.
Your reputation will outlive you. That's what I tell everybody. Your reputation will outlive you. That's why I want to work hard to build the best reputation possible.
It's not about the money.
Exactly.
It's about the legacy. And
the money will come.
The money will come.
The money will come. If you do the right thing, the money will come. And Bob, so like to your 1, 5, 10-year goal question, right? I feel like I'm a big believer in SMART goals. I forgot what the acronym stands for, but it's like small, measurable, attainable, reachable, timely, something like that. Basically, it means instead of making the 10-year goal, make like a 3-month goal. Make like a 6-month goal.
Well, you break it down.
Of
so
course.
Like that's what we do. So we break it down, and then we even have monthly meetings, and we, you know, we do our like monthly, what our monthly goals are. Like, this is what we got to.
But they're always changing, like you said.
Yeah,
you know?
no, for sure.
So you
but
have
like to
one
reach your
goal.
long-term goal, we break it down into smaller ones, and like, okay, so to be at this, we got to do this month, you know, and then next month we got to do this to do this, you know. So.
And then another point you kind of touched up on that I want to also kind of talk about is the work-life balance. So that's huge, you know.
Yeah.
I think, you know,
work-life balance is for snowflakes. Don't listen.
If you want work-life balance, I'm sorry, you're just not gonna.
It's in the wrong industry.
No, but it's true. You do need work-life balance.
So like, I feel like brokerage specifically and transportation as a whole has a very negative stigma when it comes to work-life balance. You know, I think that was one of the biggest things that, I don't know, the whole TQL lawsuit that went down. Probably shouldn't have said that name. Maybe blur that out later, but.
Oh, it's okay. I already have cease and desist letters with it. That's fine.
Yeah,
but we don't. We want to keep it that way.
Yeah. Essentially, I think it was like they were pushing the whole, or it was something where like they got sued because the employees weren't being compensated for the time they were putting in outside the office or something like that, because they were pushing the 7 days a week, 24/7 availability.
Yeah.
So CBS is a 24/7 provider. We have 24/7 availability, but we don't put that stress on our brokers here in the office. And as a matter of fact, it's not put on one person at all. It's divided into different shifts. So on our operations team, we have different shifts throughout the day. And so each person never has to work more than 8 hours. You know what I mean? Whether you're a broker in the office or whether you're one of our remote carrier sales reps, you never have to, slave away. Now, of course, if you're, a broker and you just got a brand new account and you want to service the hell out of it and you do a good job, you're going to take that call at 9:30 p.m. to service your customer. Of course, I recommend you do that if you want to be successful in this business and set yourself apart.
Yeah, you have to in trucking,
We don't push a 24/7 availability to our people on the ground here. You know what I mean? Or any individual specifically. It's more of like, look, as a whole organization, we're 24/7, but not individually. Because, look, I have an 8-month-old at home. You have a 2-year-old. I want to spend time with my family. I need to have people on the ground that are active and live so that I can go home, decompress, do my 42 cold plunges routine in the morning, and come back and kill it again. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of the stigma that comes with the whole nicotine addiction and everything, all that stuff that's on online. And I know it's memes. I know it's all good-hearted fun, but there is
all of you need Jesus.
There you go. Yeah, there is a truth to that as well, where these people are jacked up on 1,000 milligrams of caffeine per day. They Adderall,
weed,
whatever it is, whatever you could throw in there, because they work at these mega corporations that are pushing that hustle mentality. Yeah. And dude, it's not a if. It's not a if, it's a when you're going to burn out from that. And when you do, you're going to be really reevaluating your life and how much you want to be in logistics. But it doesn't have to be like that. So
I also do think that there's this fraternity culture that exists in brokerage that a lot of times it's
fraternity culture. What do you mean? You mean the people that are recruiting at colleges or what?
Well, essentially people go into these jobs and they have this in addictions. I don't think it's technically like the company's creating that culture that's acceptable and it's cool. Yeah. But it's you don't have to do that, in order it's just you want to be part of the fraternity. That's what cool kids do, kind of thing.
Yeah. I think frat culture is a big thing in brokerage specifically because a lot of these companies are recruiting straight off the college campuses themselves. You know what I mean? They have the internship programs over the summer, and that's great. I mean, a lot of the guys here are young guys. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's fine. It's just I think it really comes down to the leadership of the company, and when you get to a point where you have multiple branches, it's about keeping that core leadership and owner value, or whatever you hold close and near dear to your heart, having that stem out into the rest of your company is really, really important. Because I think once you kind of start to lose control of your company and it starts becoming bigger than you are, if that makes any sense, that's when that kind of stuff can happen. And you can have those frat cultures and everything. That's kind of the opposite of what we're trying to do here at CBS. We're trying to push a much cleaner, much more positive, much more encouraging.
Cold plunges, sauna.
Yeah. The funny thing is, that's what we were doing yesterday.
I know. Yep. No, but that's good. That's a lot better than,
I'd rather be doing that than be, jacked up on some crap or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Bob, you're going to say something and then I kind of cut in.
I don't know what I was going to say. I lost my train of thought. No, but that's actually a really, really positive thing, you know, because literally rather focus on your health and do that than, be in an office that's, like you're saying, a fraternity or a culture that has all these kind of...
It's toxic. It's bad.
Stuff.
And you burn out that way.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the overall, I guess, vision is just to maintain a quality, be the best that put your best foot forward kind of thing.
Best foot forward.
Yeah. And truthfulness, I say, is a huge one.
Transparency. Make sure the guys are up to speed and they are following that and doing that wholeheartedly.
How often do you guys have team meetings or
every Monday at least? Well, today
weekly minimum, sometimes twice a week.
Yeah, twice a week. Okay.
Every single week, no matter what. And there's a lot of people that have mixed opinions on meetings. Some people like to do only Zoom meetings. Some people say, oh, meetings are a waste of time. In a company of this size, 11 to 50 employees, especially, I think it's super important to have consistent meetings because, dude, you're not going to have a company culture. One thing that we hear about a lot of brokerages, and I think this goes, for anyone nationwide, is on the floor. The sales floor, it's competitive. It's every man for himself. It's a dog-eat-dog world. You're a lone wolf, whatever. That's not how it is at CBS because we don't let that happen. Why? Because we have meetings consistently. We have them collaborate. We have them talk to each other, bounce ideas off each other. We have them do mock cold calls where they're essentially cold calling each other and giving each other oppositions. How would you handle this kind of rejection if someone says, hey, I actually already have a broker. What would you say to that? You know what I mean? It's okay, well, you kind of get them to break the ice between each other and not have that kind of hard-headed competitiveness. We still have a competitive nature here, 100%. It's everyone wants to be the best, but it's not malicious towards each other. I think that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
And how do you guys focus, I guess, on hiring someone like that, or what do you guys look for the quality that you guys look on hiring?
Yeah, because you
a
guys
team
have
member
like a nice team here. Like,
Yeah.
how did you pick that? Like, how did you find those people? And
Honestly, a lot of it came from the people that we knew, especially a lot of Max's circle. He knew that those people are like, they're hungry, they're quality
Yeah.
people, they're probably would be good at sales, they're good at communication. So he reached out to them and was like, look, I need you. Like, what do you want to come in and
Sure.
to come to our team?
I think,
and then it was
yeah.
organically kind of.
I think a really big thing, I learned a lot, even just hiring a few people. We have a pretty low turnover rate. We've only had one person leave the company so far since we started it, actually two. But one of them was an accountant, so not really doesn't count. But you know what I mean. With hiring talent, I learned a lot, and I would say, like, kind of what to look for in a person when you're looking to bring them onto a brokerage team. It is very difficult. It's possible, but it's extremely difficult to teach somebody sales, and as a personality and as like a character trait. It's very difficult to teach sales. You can teach anybody about logistics, about transportation, about this and that. In any industry, sales is kind of like a universal language that if you have sales skills, you can work in any industry and succeed.
Right.
But it's very difficult to teach that. You can coach somebody all day long. You can train them that has that little, kind of like that seedling,
spark. Yeah.
that spark. But if they don't have it, it's very difficult, and kind of like what kind of characteristics does someone have to be a good salesman? I would say you have to be able to pick up, kind of like read the room, So like if I'm talking to Bob, right, and I'm trying to sell you something, I need to be able to talk to you and figure out if what I'm telling to you is interesting or sticking, or if it's kind of bouncing off your head and you're like, oh, not really. A lot of guys, they have no concept whatsoever of how the sale is actually going. They're kind of like robotic. They kind of lock up, they start doing their whole thing. And then, halfway through, they completely lost their prospect, 100%. They have, their prospect is waiting to get out of that room. They're thinking they're killing it because they're reading all their script points or whatever, and then you're trying to close them. It's like, dude, you have no idea what planet you're even on right now. It's like, you got to be able to read the person,
Yeah.
You got to be able to be convincing. You have to be able to talk, to be able to communicate, and not shy away. So like, if you're talking to someone and you're seeing that they're not really picking up what you're putting down, or even if you're on the phone, if they're being kind of quiet and being kind of short, call it out on the spot. Be like, hey, I'm getting the kind of feeling that what I'm putting down is not really sticking too much with you. Is this resonating with you, or are we kind of on the same page here or not? Well, actually, no, because I was kind of confused about this. Oh, well, that's a really simple thing to figure out. You have to be able to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If you're just kind of like there, just kind of like a blind sheep, and you're like, oh, hey, well, I'm trying to offer you some transportation services. It's like, I always tell people, it's like you have this kind of like, imagine like a hill, and you're building the hill, you're building up to it when you're on the cold call or on the cold email or whatever. And it's like, it's a very slow climb to the top. And once you're at the top, you're either going to go the right way or you're going to go back down the hill you came from. And prospects can smell out. Customers can smell, especially people that are in the logistics industry. They can smell immaturity like this, dude. Like if there's a new rep on the phone, like imagine you, right?
Yeah.
With trucks, right? Imagine someone calls you from Volvo or whatever and wants to sell you a truck.
Yeah.
But this person has been selling trucks for 2 days. Bob, how long do you think it's going to take you to figure out that person has no idea what they're talking about?
Pretty quick.
Immediately.
Yeah.
It's like a shark smelling a drop of blood a mile away in the ocean. Dude, as soon as they figure out that you don't know what you're talking about, you go right back down that hill, and it's a much harder climb to get back up than to keep that trust in the first place and to go the right way down the hill to make the sale. So it's like, I always tell my people, rather than trying to build the trust back up, try to not lose it in the first place. How do you not lose trust from a potential prospect that maybe you don't know too much about? Well, who says that you have to make the call unprepared? Do as much research, and this goes to all brokers. Guys, the bar is pretty low right now. Do as much research as possible to any company that you want to call or prospect prior to calling them, so that when the time comes and they ask you those questions, you're on the spot responding. Even if you don't know the most about trucks, look up what kind of engine they have. Look up what kind of transmission they have. Look up what type of fuel they take. Look up this, and that. That way, when I call Bob and I say, hey, Bob, I have 2 brand new shiny Volvos here ready to sell to you. Bob says, what kind of motors are they? Oh, they're the T13 whatever. Oh, okay, what kind of gas do they take? Or what kind of this and that? Oh, they take this and this, this and this. Oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. Okay, he might actually be someone I might want to work with, as opposed to, let me check back with my supervisor, and you're gone right away.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Max, because touching back on this, like you're 24.
Yeah.
But like when I'm listening to you, I'm like, it's like captivating. Like most of the guys here is like they're older than you. You're running these meetings and stuff for sales and stuff. Like, where did you learn all of this?
Just life, man. Honestly, my first job ever was I was a greeting card salesman in a mall, in the middle of the mall at a kiosk. I sold Vietnamese pop-up greeting cards. That was my first ever job. For real. And it was actually a referral from one of my friends in high school that sent me there. And basically, yeah, it was just kind of like it's just who I am type of thing. You know what I mean? I was always very fascinated in learning things. When I was younger, I would always read the almanacs and the world record books, and people called me the encyclopedia when I was a kid and called me Google because I would like know everything, that those kind of little nuances and things like that. But yeah, so like my first job was a sales job, I guess, actually. And I was selling greeting cards. And I remember the most I ever sold was 98 greeting cards in one day. And so there was an episode on Shark Tank. Shout out to Shark Tank, by the way. Someone had a similar product to ours that we were selling, and it aired on Shark Tank. And then I was at the mall just doing my shift, and people started coming up like, hey, was this on Shark Tank? And I'm like, I had no idea what they're talking about. I'm like, yes, it was. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this is really cool, you know? And so I remember my sales manager or the boss would like text me. He's like, how do you sales so well? And like I was 15, so I couldn't even work full time. So he put me at like 38 hours per week, like just enough to not be full time, but like just enough to like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. It was just kind of always who I am, you know? Like,
but I think it's a lot about also like how you grow up and kind of, you know, who you're with. Because there's some people just have a gift. Honestly. I think
he has
people
it in his DNA. He didn't have to learn it too much. Yeah. Because
you could learn it because there's like a science behind it.
Yeah.
But like it's to give the natural gift.
Yeah.
Which is definitely amazing and
appreciate
cool.
that a lot, man.
Yeah. I'm like I love the fact that we're here now because you guys are relatively new. You know, you're 2 years young. And like this is like the beginning of it, and we have this on recording, like the interview, and it's just gonna be fascinating to see like the timeline as you guys grow. Like
we'll come
circle back
in 5
like
years.
In 5 years, like we'll watch this, like wow, and then we'll do like a new episode in 5 years, and like you know, like you guys will be like, you know,
hopefully
like,
so, man.
Yeah,
God willing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is there anything else you guys want to touch upon?
I have a question actually.
Yeah.
So your plan, I guess we were talking a little bit about goals. Would you guys ever be interested in like outside investment or something into your company, or you know, people getting in and kind of expand
Roman, you can go first and all.
Yeah, it's a loaded question. So we don't use any factoring companies, all right? And the biggest reason is because it's a lot of money. It's expensive. Once you break out the numbers, like it can take out a lot of your profits, especially with a down market. It's coming back up right now a little bit, but in a down market, you're feeling, you know, every penny pinch. And so if somebody's taking, you know, 1.5%, 2%, 3%, 4%
off your top
line
revenue, guys.
That's
very important.
You know, especially when you're a new brokerage, you're just starting up. We're not working with a lot, so we have to make sure that we're spending our money wisely. And we've purchased or bought subscriptions that were not as wise as they should have been, but now we learn, so we just don't do it.
Technology
again,
services.
Yeah. Okay. But in terms of outside capital, would we be open to it? Probably, but we'd have to make sure that it's for the best of the company, for like the growth that we're trying to achieve, rather than just like quick profit type of thing.
Kind of like we were talking. Sorry, are we done?
Yeah. I was just saying that we're here for the long run, and so like it doesn't matter how. I mean, it matters, but we're seeing this, like you said, in 5 years to 10 years. As long as we can grow like with our team and make sure that we're delivering the best quality service, it's kind of like Apple. You know, like if they have like the bestest product and they sell really well, even if they're making small margins on their phones, they have a great product and everybody knows them and everybody wants to go to them and everybody wants to work with them. So this is kind of the same thing we're trying to build with CBS. If people know us in logistics and they know that, hey, they're solid guys, whatever they do, you can trust them. Carriers are not going to get, you know, screwed over or anything like that. That means a lot than, you know, just hitting a really high top line.
Yeah. So kind of my position on the whole outside funding thing is pretty similar to Roman's. I think that outside funding is, especially if you want to scale, I think it's essential. You know, I think it's definitely something that you have to consider and be kind of well aware of. Like, look, this might come up sometime in the near future. I would say our goal is to get as far as we possibly can on our own. You know, keep it in the circle, just because right now, I mean, I think we can talk about this. You know, right now we don't have any debt that we carry. You know, we don't have any massive lines of credit. The only thing that's technically a debt is the lease on the building. That's it. We've pretty much funded this entire thing, just me and Roman. And we're planning to try to do that as long as we possibly can, just for the sake of, number one, maintaining control in our own company, number one, because once you start getting outside investors, they have a say. If you have some kind of like a board or something like that, they have a position. They can say, hey, well, I don't really like this, I don't want this to go this way, or you shouldn't do this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
We want to run our business the way we want to run it for as long as possible. Now, should the time come and we need to scale and things just start exploding, we might have to explore that avenue. You know, honestly, I'll be honest, I don't have enough education on that whole topic to really get too deep into it. But I'll just say, like, for the record, you know, we're going to try to stay within us as long as possible without getting any kind of outside funding.
Gotcha. I want to touch back on the factoring. So you said, because I'm kind of confused about the top line revenue. So what exactly does that mean? So like, say you got a load for $2,000, right?
Yeah.
From the customer, and then you sold it for $2,200.
No,
right?
opposite.
Or the opposite. Or
Well,
you sold it to the
Sold it for
carrier.
18.
Sold it for 1,800.
Well, let's make it simple. You got it for 25 from the customer, and then you sold it for 2,000 to the carrier, right?
Yeah.
So there's $500 in their profit.
Yeah.
Let's just say that. So does the factoring company take off of the $500 profit or
2,000.
2,500?
2,500.
2,500.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
So if you do 2-3% over a course of a year, and let's say
Dang.
It's
That's a
literally
lot.
it's gonna be a quarter, if not more, of your profit.
correct, yes,
And I want to stress this also. This
That's
was
crazy.
not like an easy task to
Yeah.
fund the like I'll be honest with you guys, like there was times when we were riding the line pretty close, especially when some of the guys got bigger accounts and those accounts payable and receivables start coming in and those carriers want to get paid within 30 days. Right now, what's our OTR? 17, 21 days?
between 17 and 18.
Oh wow! How are you guys paying so quickly though?
So, like I'm saying, so it was a lot of hard work and we wanted to be the best. We wanted to stand out. So we put in like literally everything that we had into this company to be able to pay at that rate and to go at that pace. And so it's not easy. It's not easy to fund a company, a brokerage on your own, especially. And that's one thing that's like everyone wants that enterprise account. Everyone wants that great big customer. But do you realize you have to pay them and then customer payments to us? So one thing that I'll say is very real with the whole recession and everything that's going on. We're seeing longer remittance times from our customers and shippers than before, for sure. Like if the average days to pay from a customer was like, let's say 39 to 45 days, that's now like, what is it now?
Well, that's a little bit long, but usually between 15 and 20 days it was before. Now it's at 30, 35.
There you go.
Some customers are coming back and saying, hey, we're doing 45 to 60. Like you have no say in it. That's just
So that means that for 60 days, let's say you have $100,000 of loads that ran, just, you know, carrier rates. You're only making a couple $100 per load, but you have $100,000 of freight. You got to forward that payment to those carriers, that $100,000, and wait potentially 5 weeks, potentially 6 weeks, potentially 7 weeks sometimes to get all that money back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Essentially a bank. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For the customer.
So that's a really big part of like a brokerage business. And that's why a lot of companies go to factoring. And I'm not bashing on factoring as a whole. Like I think if you're a brokerage and you need to use factoring, do it. It's better to use factoring and suffer a little bit than to go bankrupt and then lose everything you got. It's just from our experience on the carrier side with factoring companies and how much of a grip they kind of get on you. And like you can't really get out of those contracts so easily. That's a whole different topic. But you know, we wanted to stay away from that for as long as we could. It was never like a, you know, we swear by we'll never do it. It was just more of like, look, we're going to go as far as we can without it. And if we have to do it, we'll do it. But so far, thank God, it's been good.
Yeah. We just knew how much it's going to be. And we did those numbers and we're like, it's going to take us much longer to be profitable, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, every business when they first start up, they have a certain amount of like savings and that's their cushion. And you got to be really, really careful how you use your cushion and what's to put in what's important and what's not important. So you're not just, you know, blowing money and hoping it sticks. Like we were pretty, we made sure we made those decisions pretty thought out to make sure that they were coming back to us.
Yeah. And then the last thing I'm gonna say about the factoring company. So if you're getting like a 3% factor rate from your factoring company on top line revenue, once you do all the math, and so you pay all your expenses and everything, and your take home net profit, that 3% can double, it can triple, it can even quadruple, and so you're actually giving away 10 to 15% of your actual take-home revenue. So it turns from 1% or 3% to 7, 10, 12% very, very fast.
I wonder if we can do the math for this thing that I just did. So $2,500.
Okay, so I just say $2,500. I'm gonna keep it simple. Like let's say $1,000.
Okay.
$1,000 is what the customer pays.
Okay.
So let's say factoring company is 3%.
It's $10.
That's 30.
So
$30.
$30 for 3%.
$30. Yeah, that's $30, right? Let's say you made
$100.
You made 100. You made 15%. That's probably a standard margin. You made 15%. So 30 divided by 150 is 1/5, which would come out to 20% of your profit is going to factoring.
There you go.
Wow.
Yep. So 20% actually, not 1 or 3%.
So, okay. But
And
then
so-
if you
Keep in
and-
mind, you have an office, you have insurance.
Exactly.
you
well,
have
let's just
other
not do the
expenses.
percent. Let's do just the in dollar sign. So $1,000, right?
Yeah.
Then $30.
$30 out of the
Yeah,
150.
and then you make
goes to
And
100.
say if
Yeah.
you made $100 because you sold it for
You
$900.
made $150.
$150.
Yeah.
So you subtract 150 from the 30, so you made $120
yeah.
instead of 150.
Yeah.
And so on that type of scale, it's like, oh, $150, $120, big deal. But when you get to the big numbers,
of course,
and you're working with like
Yeah.
$100,000 of net income for the
Yeah.
entire year.
Well, it's like 1.2 million and 1.5 million. That's
Well,
$200,000.
exactly, and that can
Yeah.
be
and it wouldn't make any sense.
That's literally like 4 amazing employees, potentially.
exactly. And the thing is, guys, unless you've been in this position right now and you have a brokerage company and you understand that, you'll never ever foresee that kind of stuff opening up a company. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you'll never know that until it's too late. And when I say when it's too late, it's because read the fine print on the contracts that you sign, because once you're in, you're in. That's it.
Because I'm just thinking, like, say it's a bigger load, right? Say it's a load from, East Coast to West Coast, and they're paying $4,000 or
like
$5,000
$9,000
on it.
Or 10.
And then basically your profit is $400 on it. Technically, you're
Yes.
thinking.
Well, now it's 310.
Now it's, well, not even that, because you would, right? So you would take the $5,000 if they're taking the 3% off of that, right?
I think the math is getting a little bit jumbled up there, but yeah, essentially you're right, Bob.
If the load sold for 10,000, so you got it from the customer for 10,000, you're paying $300
Right.
in factoring, and let's say you made $400 in profit.
So you would make $100.
You make $100.
Exactly.
They made more
Wow.
money than you.
So the factoring company would make more money. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. And so that's why it's a very dangerous thing, but that's not the situation with all factoring companies.
Yeah.
There are very successful brokerages that have
Yeah.
factoring that do it very well and that are very, successful. And so I'm not trying to bash on those companies or those guys. It's just it's
Yeah.
a thing that you got to be aware of, because let's be honest, the average transportation person is a working class man. The average owner operator, the average person who's starting a small
For sure.
brokerage, they're working class blue collar people that want to make a living, honest living for themselves, and they're not that intelligent with all those kind of numbers and stuff. All the banking
picky, or
terms.
just who can read through all of the fine print?
Yeah.
Who knows the background and insurance?
Well, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That
Exactly.
It was, like
And
that.
that's the type of stuff that guys get locked into, and they're like, shoot, man, and then good luck getting out of that contract, man. Like,
Right.
You know what I mean?
But you could also, I think some factoring company will let you just factor certain loads directly,
That's if they have a, if they don't, what is that again? Like they don't use it or something like that? Like they don't, I forgot the term.
Recourse?
No, it's not recourse. It's like a
No. So if
letter
they-
of release
Yeah.
if they're not a factor approved or something like that.
Yeah.
Like on the
Got it.
carrier side, for you guys, for example, like
Letter
if your factoring company doesn't approve a broker, they'll say, hey, look, we don't approve this guy's credit rating. We don't believe he's going to pay us on time, so you can deal with them on your own. I don't know how that works on the brokerage side, though,
Yeah.
with shippers. I would assume it's something close to be the same thing.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
You guys have any questions or want to add anything?
I just want to say to both of you guys, but specifically to Paul, keep doing what you're doing, man. Like I said,
Not to me, huh? Just to Paul. Keep doing
you
what
get
you're
your time. You
doing.
get your time. You get your time. Hey, what's the name of the podcast we're on? And so, Paul, I really admire what you're doing with this whole business and everything. Everyone in this office follows all your guys' pages. Everyone looks up to you guys. You guys are like little local celebrities, in this office
You
in
are
Vancouver.
celebrities. All those guys just lit up as soon as you guys walked in.
Yeah, exactly. When I told the guys that you guys are coming in, like they're like, "No, you're lying, man. You're lying." Like, no, they're for real coming in. So you
For
guys
real,
are.
for real.
A lot of people are watching you guys. You guys are very inspiring. And Paul and both Bob, keep up what you're doing, man. Don't give up. Even if it's going slow sometimes, or if it's not the way you want it to be, the goals you're setting you're not reaching them or whatever. Never give up, man. Just keep remembering why you started it in the beginning. Always go back to the origin story. Why did you start it in the beginning? Keep going with that, and I think you're gonna have a lot
What
of
if I
success
started
in this business.
in the beginning because I was bored?
Well,
Yeah.
then
Go back to the origin.
That's what
bored
happened with
again.
my meme
Be bored.
page, yo.
Well, you were bored, so you wanted to do something entertaining,
Yeah.
so you got to keep it entertaining,
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. Now I just got to get bored again to start posting more. But literally, I started my page a little bit of a thing, quick back. But I started my page because I was driving a truck, and I talked to all my friends on the phone. I listened to all the music, had all the movies play in the background, I couldn't even tell. So I'm like, what's next? So I'm like, let me just create a page. Because I saw there was a couple other smaller little pages,
Yeah.
Like, let me just create a page and start posting what's going on, in the
What year
in
was
the
that
industry.
when you started posting?
I think 2015 or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you think of the content? Or was it just like you were just that bored that you were like,
Dude, if you go back, the first memes are so dumb. They're just so basic. I
Yeah.
didn't even know how to create memes. I was finding off Facebook and just reposting it and just a lot. But then the more you do it, the more you, it's even with the business, like what you guys are doing, you know, you're in it and you're learning more and more and more.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you just learn, oh, okay, I can do that. I can do this, you know, and then you see
The same
other,
applies to memes.
yeah, and literally that's the same thing, you know, and then you see different memes on different pages. So you just cut that out and then just make it trucking related, you
Yeah,
know,
make it yours.
Dude,
yeah.
memes are becoming like a very like corporate commodity. Like there's big companies starting to use memes for
Dude.
marketing.
Truck stop, you know,
Yeah.
Dude, I saw a Domino's pizza ad the other day. It's like some kind of meme. Like it's like an ad, like strippers like a meme. I'm like, damn, like Domino's is even doing this nowadays.
Yeah.
Like they're getting up there. So
oh yeah.
yeah.
I mean, because it's catchy, you know, it's catchy and
I mean, it's what's capturing the entire world right now is
Yeah.
meme culture. you
I
know what
think
mean?
the best, like, because sometimes companies reach out to us about posting an ad or like something, and I'm like, and they want, when they tell us like, hey, what kind of ad I should do, I literally always tell them like, make it kind of meme related. I remember I was doing an ad for a company, I'm not gonna say who, but it was literally, maybe you remember, but we were literally creating like certain memes. Dude, those memes did way better than just posting an ad that was like just basic, generic. Hey, I need you know this or that, you know. But yeah.
That's kind of what we're trying to do. Like we're at the literally infant stages of our social media presence and everything, but even with the Instagram, I'm trying to tailor the page more, which is all me doing it, by the way. We have no social media marketing
Yeah, that's the guy.
director or anything, but I'm trying to like gear it more towards the trucker side of things and like the carrier side, because you know you think about who's going to be on Instagram as your demographic, it's most likely going to be the drivers, you know what I mean, like the carriers, you know. And so I think a brokerage company having a good reputation with carriers, like even right now, like you just mentioned Arrive, because you're a carrier, you love working with them, you know what I mean?
100%.
You're not talking about the customer or whatever. It's you as the carrier, you know. And so it's like their reputation on the ground, like for the working class people, is from the carriers. And so I'm trying to touch more into that, you know. So like we're trying to post more of like the freight related stuff, post more, you know, memes or things about like, you know, truck drivers and how in the wintertime they're the ones that are driving, you know, like trying to kind of like shout them out more so than posting like some kind of quarterly financial status or like some kind of, oh, hey, we're doing, no one really cares about that kind of stuff on Instagram. For LinkedIn, yeah, that's LinkedIn stuff. Instagram is more, it's a little bit less professional, you know what I mean? I feel like you should be more personable with your audience and kind of try to like gear them more towards that. So
Yeah.
Definitely.
Great.
Yeah, this is awesome.
This was good.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Thanks for having us, guys.
I had a blast,
Yeah,
guys.
thanks for having us. This was actually great. Portland's really nice. Vancouver's really nice.
Vancouver, Washington is really nice. Portland's like pretty cool,
It
but
wasn't bad though.
It wasn't
I'm
bad. It wasn't.
surprised because
Honestly, I was surprised too.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
there's like no one out there. I feel
Yeah.
like they clean up the streets for us, you know?
Seriously, man.
not only the office, the streets too. Yeah. No, but it's good, man, and I'm actually pretty excited to go explore it today some more.
Yeah, it's
so.
great weather. Looks like
Yeah.
outside too. So
Yeah, it's a beautiful sunny day.
You guys came in the right time. For literally 3 days, it's 61 degrees and sunny out. Well, mostly.
Yeah.
And before we cut this out, how can anyone reach out to you guys on you know what's the best contact or?
So we have on Instagram, Ship CBS, on LinkedIn, just Critical Brokerage Services on LinkedIn, and then you know
Our main email, it's ship@cbsco.net.
yeah, ship@cbsco.net. Also our website, cbsco.net. Go visit our website. Go check it out. We just got a new
I
website.
feel like you guys are gonna get a lot of like people that are gonna be interested in even just coming to work here. You know.
That'd be great.
That'd be
You
great.
know?
Yeah.
Cool.
Good stuff.
We only have a few.
All right, good stuff, man.
Nice coming.
podcast.
Yep.
Bob, appreciate your time, brother.
No problem.
Roman.
Paul.
Yep.
Thank you, guys. Max, let's go do some cold plunging.
I know, after this.
Literally.
Yeah.
All right, that's a wrap.
Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Freight Caviar Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, or if you didn't, leave a review. Let me know what you think. I appreciate any feedback. If you'd like to have more Freight Caviar content, go to freightcaviar.com and subscribe to my email newsletter.